away. Good! Atlanta wins.
Sack, coffin nailed.
Big wins for each last week. One on the road, one at home, which brings us to week 2, the Falcons and the Bengals. It is a beautiful day, as the pictures would attest, for football here in Cincinnati. It'll be in the high 60s. There is a slight breeze out of the east and plenty of sunshine. I'd like to remind you today's game is being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. Well, Rich Gannon, the Bengals made the playoffs last season, 3rd straight with their quarterback, while the Falcons, who some had going to the Super Bowl, finished 4-12.
Yeah, it was a disappointing season, Kevin, and we talked a little bit about in the open about how this was going to be a physical game. I think Cincinnati's going to try and turn this into a fist fight. I'm curious to see how Atlanta responds. Now remember, as you point out, they had a very difficult season, 4-12. And so they went back and they changed some things up. They reworked their strength program. They hired a new offensive line and defensive line coach. They went out and acquired some new linemen on both sides of the ball. They're trying to become a more physical football team under Mike Smith. We're going to find out today just how tough they are.
Mike Smith and his counterpart on the other side for Cincinnati, Marvin Lewis, were defensive assistants with the Baltimore Ravens during that championship 2000 season. They're both defensive coaches. They've got their fingerprints on both. Cincinnati won the toss. They have deferred. Atlanta will receive. And that means we'll get an early look at the electrifying Devin Hester.
This is a player that can dramatically change field position. That's why they went out and got Devin Hester in free agency. A pleasant surprise, though, Kevin, is what he has done as a receiver in this offense. 5 catches for 99 yards last week in their win over the Saints.
Rich, we talked to the Falcons last night about their troubles on the road. A season ago, they were 1-7. When they get out of the dome, it seems that they had staggered just a bit.
Well, they're so used to that fast track at home, and you're right, it forces you to change some things up a little bit. I think it really gets back to becoming a tougher football team. I think that was a point of emphasis this entire offseason. They've got to do a better job in the trenches.
And here's the kickoff, and here goes Hester. Looking for some blocks. He got one from Moore and works his way upfield before he's brought down by reserve wide receiver James Wright. It is a 36-yard return, which brings us to the 7th-year quarterback for the Falcons, Matt Ryan.
Well, Kevin, there's no question he is one of the best in football. I mean, despite some shoddy line play last year, he still put up some huge numbers, over 4,500 yards passing, 26 touchdowns. And what I like and respect about Matt Ryan, he is so good at the line of scrimmage. It seems like each and every year they give him more and more responsibility.
So after the 36-yard return, it'll be 1st and 10 from the 31. With Jackson in the backfield, he gets the call, and he takes it into the grasp of Dunlap on the defensive side, among others. Also Pecco jumping on him right there. They'll give him a gain of 1. He's up to the 32. Well, they're going to be missing their celebrated rookie Jake Matthews at the left tackle. Karimi, a former #1 pick by Chicago and a guy they signed off the street, will be starting. And, of course, the terrific Julio Jones, back hale and hearty after last year. Had a terrific game 1 last week against New Orleans with 7 catches. It's 2nd and a long 8 on the first drive of the game. Ryan, and he's got Roddy White, all-time receiving leader. He's working on Newman. He's close to a 1st down. And he picks up about 7 right there. This is the defensive line, and Wallace Gilberry had, in the words of Marvin Lewis, maybe the best game he has played. They signed him off the street as well. Now you're the linebackers. We talked about perfect. Lamour is a good player on that other side. He had a lot of tackles last week in an experienced secondary, including their best cover corner in Leon Hall. Do get the 1st down to the 42. Jackson again. And not a whole lot there. Gilberry was there, but at the bottom of the pile, they've got the 12-year veteran, Terrence Newman, and Richie picks up a yard on 1st down.
Well, not surprised to see this Atlanta offense try and run the football. It was a real problem for them last year. They only ran the ball 31% of the time, which was a league low. They finished dead last in rushing, 77.9 yards a game, the most imbalanced offense. They've got a couple reasons for that. First, Steven Jackson had the injury. They had some changes up front, and they fell behind early in games. They need more of a commitment to the running game.
Adam Jones has come in as a fifth defensive back. 2nd down and 9. 5 in the secondary, and Ryan will look at it. Devin Hester, the aforementioned Adam Jones, in a gain of 2. He's out near the 45-yard line. Jones is a feisty one. And, you know, he was saying that everyone talks about Devin Hester. I think I'm as good a return guy as him. There they meet head-to-head on the field.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they both have unique skill sets. I mean, you think about their ability to be great returners, but also play offense and defense and really impact field position. I think, you know, you look at Devin Hester, he has been a great addition to this offense. They already had 3 great receivers with Julio Jones, Roddy White, and Harry Douglas. Now you'll see more 4 wide receiver sets. It's really going to put a lot of stress on this Cincinnati secondary.
Speaking of the 4 receivers, last week the Bengals were watching some pretty good receiving by Baltimore, but today they watched this Atlanta group, which had 4 receivers with at least 5 receptions against the New Orleans Saints, and Hester was included in that group.
Good distribution. That really gets back, Kevin, to Matt Ryan. I think he sees the field so well, and he does a good job spreading it around, taking advantage of matchups. As you point out last week, 5 different receivers had 50 yards or more receiving. He's going to need another big passing day, I think, against this secondary when they get in these situations.
That is a story right there. Perfect, who was cleared from the concussion last week, was told by the official, our referee Bill Vinovich, to leave the field. He was woozy. You saw him go to the near side. Vincent Ray will take his place. It's 3rd and 7 for Atlanta. Somebody moved. Here comes Dunlap. And a flag afterwards, too. So he goes at the head of Ryan, and we've got a penalty flag before that. So 2 on the play. Bill Vinovich, who's also a college basketball official, will straighten it out.
False start. Offense number 63. Center with the head, Bob. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Well, that's interesting because his flag was late. It wasn't 2. It was just the 1 penalty, and it's against the Falcons.
Look at Vontaze Burfict. It's almost identical to what happened to him last week. He sacked Joe Flacco. He was slow getting up off the ground. He hits Matt Ryan in a very similar situation. You can see he's woozy. Missed some practice earlier this week. He is not right.
And he makes all the play calls.
He led the National Football League in tackles last year. And you point out, Kevin, he makes all the calls in their base and sub packages.
They need the 48, 3rd and 12 for Matt Ryan. Short. Big stick there by Newman. He was on Harry Douglas, who picks up 5, but not enough. And on their first possession today, the Atlanta Falcons will have to punt.
We just can't afford to fall behind in the down and distance against this Cincinnati defense. They'll show you so many different pressures in their sub package, particularly on 3rd down, and that's where you got to be sharp. They force you to get the ball out quick, and then they rally to the tackle.
Matt Bosher's going to punt for the first time today, and deep back for the Bengals, they've got Brandon Tate. Again, negligible wind here in Cincinnati. He's called for the fair catch, which he makes at about the 16, 17-yard line, a 38-yard punt. So our first look at Andy Dalton. He's been to the Pro Bowl. He's led the team to the playoffs 3 consecutive seasons, begins his 4th year. We'll see him next. That's an early developing story right there for the Bengals.
Well, we saw that Vontaze Burfict was concussed last week in the game against the Ravens. Missed some practice time this week. We talked to Marvin Lewis on Friday. He hadn't yet passed the concussion test, the protocol. We just saw him just a moment ago being examined by the Bengals doctors on the sidelines.
After 5 plays punt for Atlanta, it's from the 18-yard line, and a fair catch made by Tate. 1st and 10. Giovanni Bernard. Riding them down in the secondary is Alford. He's close to a 1st down, a burst of 10. As you take a look at Bengal quarterback Andy Dalton.
3 straight trips to the playoffs, as you point out, Kevin. It's never happened before here in Cincinnati, and it's still not enough because they haven't won in the postseason. You'll see a lot of no huddle today, a lot of responsibility on Dalton at the line of scrimmage.
Tight end is back there, Hewitt. There goes Jermaine Gresham in motion. 1st and 10. Bernard again. Well, Falcons thought they'd run, and sure enough they are. Massaquoi brings him down. Gain of 9 for the 2nd-round pick out of North Carolina a season ago, Giovanni Bernard. They got a rookie starting at the center, Bodine, but they like him. He played well, graded well last week. Whitworth was a Pro Bowler. Gresham takes the place of the injured tight end Tyler Eifert, who had an elbow injury. He's on that short injured reserve list for 8 weeks. They'll miss him today. Although Gresham has been to 2 Pro Bowls himself. It is 2nd down and 1. Bernard, this time he's wrapped up, and it was read well by Paul Soliai with a loss of a yard. He was a free agent acquisition from the Miami Dolphins. He and Jackson trying to beef up the interior of that defensive line for Atlanta. They felt they needed that toughness. They think both can support it. Warlow was signed off the street and led the team in tackles as a rookie a season ago. They play the nickel. The best cover corner there is Trufant. It's 3rd down and 3. Movement.
Hard count got him.
Neutral zone practice. Defense number 71.
Quarterbacks practice that.
5-yard penalty.
Well, they should, and I think we do it in practice. That's, you mix it up, Kevin. And the offensive linemen are always talking. Keep an eye on the left side there. They're always working on. You see Bierman, he just gets a little antsy, and Whitworth right there to point it out. But they do a nice job changing up the snap count early in games. You don't want to have a defensive line to get it beat in terms of you going on 1 or 2 all the time. That can make things very difficult, particularly for those offensive tackles.
Jeremy Hill has come in, the rookie out of LSU, as they send Bernard in motion. 1st and 10. Good block by Smith. Like this kid Hill. Breaking tackles into the secondary to the 41. Brought down by Bierman. A catch and run of 18 yards for Jeremy Hill.
A little check down, and Andy Dalton's got his eyes down the field, goes through his progressions, not there, gets it right to the back over the ball, and he makes a couple defenders miss. He is a big, strong, physical runner, very different than what they have in Giovanni Bernard.
We'll take a breather right now. Marshall Newhouse has come in to make a heavier offensive line. Played for the Packers a year ago. So he's in from the 42 of Atlanta, 1st down and 10. Gio Bernard. Not a whole lot there as he's stacked up. You can see all kinds of Falcons on him. It's a gain of 3. Bartu was in there as well. This guy's shifty. You watched him on tape a lot this week.
He's got some short area quickness that's unique, and really not surprised to see Cincinnati start this way. They're trying to run the football right at the middle of this Falcons defense.
Mike Nolan, the defensive coordinator for Atlanta, told us last night he reminds him a little bit of Darren Sproles.
I mean, he's unique. I mean, he's more of a change of pace back, and that's why they went out and got Jeremy Hill. He's more of the banger inside.
It's 2nd and 7. Bernard again. Bierman's tracking him down. Another 1st down. So on this drive, Bernard has had runs of 10 and 9. A catch and run right there of 10. Another 1st down.
Well, they're just going to get him out in a little swing route, and pretty simple stuff. It's nothing more than a toss or a wide sweep. You just want to find ways to get Giovanni Bernard the ball in space. He's a very difficult tackle in the open field.
7th play of the drive, which started back at the Bengal 18-yard line. 1st and 10. Bernard again. Bodine trying to provide a block, and he was brought down by Jonathan Massaquoi out of Troy. It is a gain of 2.
Well, the Falcons really didn't get tested last week stopping the run against the Saints, but trust me, they're going to get tested here today. Cincinnati's got a gigantic offensive line. They have a couple really good backs, and they have an offensive coordinator who's committed to running the football. They have to find out early if the Falcons can stop the run.
There's a new offensive coordinator, too, for the Bengals, and Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, and he likes to run the football. He believes in it.
A lot of talk in the offseason about emphasizing that run. Seeing it here early, 2nd down and 8. Once again, they give it to Hill, and around his ankles he finds Bartu. It's a gain of 7. Hugh Jackson, one-time head coach with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, and he was interesting to visit with. He said when he got the job, the first person he called, it wasn't his wife. It was Andy Dalton.
I wonder what Mrs. Jackson thought of that. A 3rd and 1. Looks like they got the 1st down right there as they push it across. Dalton takes it himself. They'll move the chains.
Well, Hugh Jackson said he wanted to make sure that Andy Dalton was comfortable. He wasn't going to try and change Andy or the system, but rather try and tweak and adjust some things. I think they've tried to streamline this offense a little bit, but look how big this offense line. Look at all the double teams you see up front.
He'll and a catch and run, the rookie of 18 yards, 7 moments ago. It is a 1st and 10. First drive for the Bengals. Dalton. It was a good block by the tight end Hewitt. On the move. He ran a lot last week, and that surprised some people. When he was in Baltimore, he ran the ball quite a bit as a quarterback.
Well, we were teasing him about it. 6 rushing attempts last week against the Ravens. I talked to him. He's talking about doing a better job protecting himself outside the pocket. He's a little lighter, about 215 pounds. And to me, Kevin, he looks quicker. Doesn't need to carry all the extra weight.
Well, he's got some weight.
I've been telling you that for years.
He's got some weight in his pocketbook. How about that with the new contract?
He's got a lot of weight in that pocketbook. And I think it's money well spent if you're the Bengals.
2nd down and 6. Hill was in the backfield. They're going for the touchdown. And they're looking for Sanu, and Trufant was watching him into the end zone. Incomplete.
Well, this is on Andy Dalton. You got to find a way to keep the ball on the field. This one just gets away from him a little bit. You've got the matchup you want. You've got these taller receivers against some of the shorter corners. Give him a chance to go up and make a play. He's got no chance when it's 3 or 4 yards out of the bounds.
He was 25 of 38 for 301 last week, completing 66% of his passes with a touchdown. He looks sharp. Going up against Flacco. 12th play of the drive, 3rd down and 6, 5 in the Atlanta secondary. Dalton. And over the head as they were looking. The coverage on the play for McLean. And they were going for Sanzenbacher, who just checked in. Dan Sanzenbacher, waived by Chicago a couple years ago, the former Buckeye. And the defense for Atlanta holds. They'll go for 3, the Bengals will. This brings in Mike Nugent. And he was busy last week with 5 first-half field goals in Baltimore.
They have to be able to finish drives. This is going to be very disturbing to Hugh Jackson. They got down in the red zone 5 times in the first half against the Ravens and had to settle for field goals.
Nugent from 31. This was a good red zone team, number 2 in the NFL a season ago.
Yeah, you know, sometimes, Kevin, it's just missing a throw or two. We saw Andy Dalton miss 2 throws down here in the red zone.
Get some going. Beautiful Ohio River. It was a 13-play drive by Marvin Lewis's Cincinnati Bengals, who get the 31-yard field goal from Nugent. And we just saw another injury for Cincinnati, and we're not sure how big it is.
Well, that would be significant if A.J. Green, who just left a moment ago to go to the locker room, if he's not able to return. That'd be devastating. He is such a big part of this offense. That will really change the way Atlanta decides to defend in the secondary.
Here we go with another kickoff. Deep back is Devin Hester, who returned the first one, 36. He'll bring it out again. Great speed. Kirkpatrick has a beat on him, as does Reggie Nelson, and away he goes. So it was a return of 34. And moments ago, we capture this with Green, who came in with the pre-existing foot issue, getting looked in the locker room for a toe problem. Timeout. Look at rookie left tackle Jake Matthews. The original left tackle was Sam Baker. He was lost in the preseason, replaced by Matthews, who is out today with an ankle. And the new left tackle is Karimi, the 3rd left tackle that they've used in this very young season.
Never a good thing, and I really like Jake Matthews. I thought he was the best offensive tackle in the draft last spring.
Toilolo was in motion, the tight end. Ryan on 1st and 10. They've got that aforementioned tight end, Toilolo. It's a tackle outside after a gain of 4 with a beat on at Lamore out of Kansas State, and he's out to the 35.
Well, no one's going to be able to replace our colleague Tony Gonzalez at the tight end position. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but as you point out, Toilolo has to be a jack of all trades. He's got to be an inline player. He's got to be able to block in the running game. He's got to run the short and intermediate routes, and he has to continue to develop as a receiver down the field.
By the way, Burfict is back in for Cincinnati. With a 2nd and long 6, it's Steven Jackson with 8 1,000-yard seasons in his pocket. Tackle was made right there for Lamore. It's a gain of 4. As we take our first trip to New York, and James Brown.
Kevin, RG3 injured on this play.
Yeah, he lands awkwardly on his right leg. He was taken off the field on a cart. In the first play back in, Kirk Cousins hits Darrell Young, 20 yards out, touchdown, Washington up 7-0. And right now, RG3 is in the locker room.
Cousins always quiet and efficient. Kevin and Rich.
You got it, JB. I did the Redskins in preseason. The whole thing was based on him protecting himself. And here we go on a 3rd and 2 for Ryan. Dumps it off. And Jaquirs Rogers. They got a beat on him there. Leon Hall makes the stop. They're close to a first down. A flag is downfield at the 46. So quarterbacks protecting themselves. That is a big issue this year.
You know, we talk about your best ability sometimes is your availability. You've got to be able to play 16 games, and you have to be able to take care of yourself outside the pocket.
Defense number 24. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Adam Jones.
Well, you see the matchup at the top of your screen. Adam Jones on Julio Jones. A little bit of grabbing there, and we saw an enormous amount of these calls in the preseason. 97 illegal contact penalties, 165 defensive holding penalties. But a point of emphasis, we saw a little bit less of it in week 1, but got to watch those hands.
Still 5 in the secondary, 1st and 10. Ryan on the move, has the first down, wisely protects himself and slides his way to about the 43. It's a scramble of 12 for Matt Ryan.
Well, we don't always think about Matt Ryan as a scrambling quarterback, but he's really worked at becoming a little bit quicker. He looks really good. I think he's taking great care of himself. And he's been encouraged to use those legs a little bit more when the opportunity presents itself.
Mike Smith thought we'd be surprised. He's stronger than he looks.
Yeah, I think he really took it upon himself this offseason. I think that the whole football team took it upon themselves to spend extra time in that weight room.
Rodgers tries to pierce the side. He's brought down on the play by Gilberry after a gain of 3. Follow all of today's football action. Download the CBS Sports app now for lightning fast scores, breaking news, video, and more. All on your phone from CBSSports.com. 2nd down and 7 with Rich Gannon, Kevin Harlan. Here they go again with the slippery Rodgers. Weaving for 9. First down. Mike Tice has been brought in to work on that line, help with the scheme, and his fingerprints already showing on this offense.
Well, you bring in a former player, former position coach, coordinator, and a head coach, and a guy that I played with in Minnesota. He's a tough guy, and he is the perfect coach to get this offensive line playing like they're capable of.
Jackson on 1st and 10. He was hit hard by Reggie Nelson. They have a running back by committee. It's a gain of 3, so we're not going to see a lot of 20 and 25 attempts a day by Jackson. They got 3 guys that carry the ball by committee.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, I'm curious to see how Steven Jackson responds, Kevin. You know, he has to set the tone for the running game, but can he be effective without playing 50 snaps a game and not touching it 25 times a game? That's what he's used to.
The guys say they get their rhythm the more they carry the ball.
Yeah, sometimes you have your best work is done late in the game. Gets better with each carry. It's going to be different for him this year in this offense.
4 wide here, 2nd down 7. Blitz is on. Big time hit. Oh, it was drilled by Newman. They were going for Harry Douglas. Incomplete.
Well, they brought pressure to Matt Ryan's left, so he has to get rid of the ball because they have a defender unblocked, so he kicks it out and throws right into the teeth of the coverage. Terrence Newman comes up with a big play.
Still 5 in that Cincinnati secondary on a glorious day in Ohio. Multiple receivers here. Rams, the first back in 1949. First team to use at least 3 receivers consistently with head coach Clark Shaughnessy. So nothing to Julio Jones yet. A timeout has been taken. A 3rd and 7 is coming up for Mike Smith and his Falcons, who trail by a field goal. Long Cincinnati drive resulted in a field goal. An equally long drive now coming up for Atlanta. They're in the midst of it right now. And this Thursday, your football week starts here. We're in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tangled with these same Atlanta Falcons. Big time matchups go prime time. It's Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network.
Really surprised that the Bucs didn't play better last week. Josh McCown struggled a little bit. They weren't able to run the football with Doug Martin, and they allowed Carolina to come in there with a backup quarterback and win.
8th play of the drive. Bengals have just taken that timeout. 3rd and 7. Ryan going for Jones. And broken up by Leon Hall. It's 4th down. Some shoving afterwards, as you can see. Some words being exchanged, and they're going to hold him to a 3-point drive.
Clearly the plan is to get the ball out of the hands of Matt Ryan quickly. You see the underneath route to Julio Jones. Cincinnati does a good job sniffing that one out. All 4 of Matt Ryan completions under 10 yards.
So Matt Bryant had the game tying, and then the one that won it in overtime from 52. This is a 46-yard drive. Everything is perfect. 46-yarder ties the game. Late first quarter, big play, a 12-yard run by Ryan and a 9-yard run by Jaquiz Rogers. A timeout was taken by Cincinnati. It would be their second, meaning 1 remains, and we're still with 68 seconds to play in the first quarter. I don't know if they didn't have the right personnel out there or what, but kind of odd now. 2 timeouts gone for them.
There's some confusion clearly, Kevin. I don't know if they have enough people on the field.
You're right.
Not that it would have been a huge deal. They're trying a field goal attempt anyway. That might be one. I'm okay playing with 10 in that situation.
Well, you don't try to ice the kicker in the first quarter, do you? Well, maybe you do. I don't know.
Not this guy.
Not this guy is right.
34 of 35 a season ago.
46-yard drop. Boy, they were coming through, and Margus Hunt, who was coming off the edge, who's 6'8", thought he almost had a fingernail on it. Let's see how close he got. Nonetheless, Bryant is good from 46, and we are tied. Well, if you can't be inside, it's good to be outside, and especially on the water. Aerial coverage of today's game provided by MetLife, and it's like they're at the game. Look how close they are. With all the boats lined up, and Paul Brown Stadium perfectly positioned on the banks of the Ohio. It is a great day for football here in Cincinnati. 2 talked about teams with talked about first week wins meeting here in week 2.
Yeah, 2 great quarterbacks. It's fun to watch Matt Ryan and Andy Dalton go at it. These are teams that worked out together a year ago before a preseason game. So there's great familiarity with the personnel and even with the schemes.
Here goes the ensuing kickoff after the 46-yard field goal by Bryant. And this is Brandon Tate, who just got tripped up on the play with a good return of 29 yards. He's out to about the 26-yard line. Tate taking it out for Cincinnati. Now, A.J. Green came in with an existing problem. It looks like he has aggravated that toe injury. He missed a practice this week, and there he is, you see, putting a little block there on Robert Alford. And then you can see hobbling just a bit.
Well, he sat out Wednesday's practice, was limited on Thursday. We saw him on Friday. I thought he looked good, but clearly something not right with A.J. Green.
So 2 tight ends are in, one of which is in the backfield. No Marvin Jones either. Here comes Sanu, who was a college quarterback, winding up and going deep. And it was caught, and what a grab by Tate to the 23-yard line. A 50-yard completion by Sanu, whose last pass was a touchdown in Washington against the Redskins 2 years ago.
Well, you're going to see the action down, and they just flip it, as you point out, Kevin, to a guy that threw the ball a lot in high school. This is a perfect throw down the field to his teammate, Brandon Tate.
It's Bernard. On first down and 10, he slipped by Babineau, who stuck with it and brings him down. Warlow was there as well. It's a gain of a yard on the play. Well, we talked about 2 career pass attempts coming into today. He had one at Washington, a 73-yard touchdown bomb to A.J. Green early in the contest. And then a 25-yarder to Gio Bernard.
The one against the Redskins was the first play of the game. You always have to prepare for the unexpected when you play the Cincinnati offense.
Sanzenbacher is in as a slot receiver. Bernard bouncing outside, being chased on the play by Lowry on that 2nd down and 9, and forced out of bounds by Warlow and others, and he picks up 3 on the play. So, Rich, no A.J. Green. How is that going to affect the early stages of this offense for Lewis and his Bengals?
You're going to see a lot of red jerseys crowd the line of scrimmage. I think this dramatically changes what they do defensively. Not concerned about A.J. Green running by him in the secondary, so I think you're going to see him commit more safeties down around the line of scrimmage to stop the run.
These offenses are moving. Tied at 3 at the end of 1 on CBS. Well, a little imagination as we go to the second quarter. A little imagination by new offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson. We saw it last week in Baltimore. We had just a wide receiver pass, good for 50-yard completion.
I think he likes to have fun. I think the players like these trick plays, and I think he's a coordinator. For him, it's not about the system, it's about the players. He plays to their strengths, and he also takes into account what the quarterback can handle in the system.
So we start the second quarter on a drive that started back at the Bengal 26. It's 3rd and 6. With the block by Whitworth at the left tackle and going to Sanzenbacher, who is covered by Dwight Lowry. 4th down, they're going to have to settle for another 3-point try.
Well, they've come back to that. It was a very similar throw we saw in the other end zone. Trying to get Sanzenbacher to the corner, and Andy Dalton's overthrown him twice. A little bit different when you're not throwing to a guy like A.J. Green, who is 6'4". You're throwing to Sanzenbacher, who's 5'11".
Think of this, with no Marvin Jones, who's out with a foot fracture, inactive, and now no Green. They say for the rest of the game he is gone. They lose their top 3rd down receivers from a year ago. It's a 38-yard try, and it is no good. A missed field goal by Nugent, who had 1 block last week, hit 5. But misses right here. He hit it earlier from 31, and they have raised the uprights this year. They're a little bit higher for a better angle for the officials to make the call.
Yeah, they did. They extended the uprights an additional 5 feet above the crossbar, but this looks like a good snap and a good hold. And this thing just slides a little right.
Mike Smith likes that one, so now Rich, his offense, takes over at their own 28-yard line. Second possession coming up. Nugent with the miss. They raised the uprights back in the late 60s when Don Chandler had a controversial field goal, make or miss. They did it again for Fred Cox in the 70s for the Minnesota Vikings, and they've now done it here again. 1st down and 10. In the backfield, they got Smith, who gets the ball. Anton Smith, 5 years out of Florida State. Good beat on it right there. Newman was there also with Lemur. It is a gain of 5.
We talked about a running back by committee approach, and I think that one of the benefits of that, Kevin, is that you always have a fresh back on the field, whether it's Jackson or Rodgers or Smith or even Freeman, their 4th round pick. Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator, said he's going to use them all throughout the course of the game.
Looks like the Bengals are going to stay on that nickel throughout the game. They're there right now. 2nd down and 6. The fake to Smith that goes to Jones. And a good read on it right there. No gain on the play. And Leon Hall, once again, there to stop it. It's like our second trip to New York. And here's James Brown.
Cowboy fans are hoping on anything, Coach.
Yeah, I must have heard our pregame show, because right here, DeMarco Murray will take his 3-yard for a touchdown. He already got 83 yards in the first half, and that came on a Barry Church interception of Jake Locker, up 10-0.
All right, back to Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon.
You saw Romo was 5 of 7. He did not play well last week against San Francisco.
3 first-half interceptions, including 1 in the red zone. That's why they're running the ball in that part of the field.
Matt Ryan here with a 3rd down and 6. He was hit. They came around the right tackle, Lamar Holmes. The pressure was there. There was a lot to breathe, and coming through was Robert Gathers, number 91. It's 3 and out for Atlanta.
Well, you're just going to see he slips a little bit at the top of his drop, but pass protection was a real problem. Got to do a good job keeping the pocket clean for Matt Ryan.
On coming up for Bosher. Deep back is Jones. Hang time of 4-4. And he is in on the play with a good Atlanta tackle made by Nate Stupar. 9-yard return, 43-yard punt, and a flag on the field at the 36. Bill Vinovich.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 21. 10-yard penalty. Cincinnati keeps the ball. First down.
21 is Darquez Denard, who is the first-round pick out of Michigan State for Lewis and the Bengals. A timeout in Cincinnati. It's some pretty valuable feat there. A.J. Green is out. And his first, as you can see, career game without a catch. He came in with a toe injury. It was aggravated, and he's gone. So now, let's see what the quarterback does from the 15-yard line. Here's the rookie, Jeremy Hill. And he was brought down in the play by Lowry after a gain of 5. So answer the question. What now does Dalton do with Jones gone, Eifert gone, and now A.J. Green gone?
Well, I always say it's tough enough to play that position when everyone around you is healthy, but now you start losing some of your top playmakers, and I think it really changes the way Dalton has to play the game. I think it changes significantly how the offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson calls the game. I think they're going to lean on this running game a little bit more and try and maybe focus on Jermaine Gresham, trying to get that matchup inside against these Falcon linebackers.
It's second down and 5. Going deep and looking for Tate and broken up on the play. A beautiful stop made by Desmond Trufant. You think he's the best cover corner they have?
Well, I think he was really one of the bright spots last season. One of the 10 rookies picked in the first round to play more than 1,000 snaps. Extremely productive in his first season. This is just a question of being in the right spot. Really good position there and playing the ball at its highest point.
They gave up
with a lot of confidence.
The secondary gave up over 300 yards last week to Drew Brees. A lot of teams do that.
A lot
now,
of teams.
you know, but it was 333, which they were drilled for last week. And they did not get to the quarterback, and they have not gotten to Dalton yet. 3rd and 5. He's missed his last 4, and Dalton throws across the middle. It's caught on the play by Dane Sanzenbacher, who only had 6 catches all of last season, signed off the street, 4 years out of the Buckeye program, picks up 16 and a first down.
Kevin, you mentioned protection, and Falcons having a difficult time getting to the quarterback. You give Dalton time, he's going to find the open receiver. I still don't feel Atlanta has that dominant pass rusher, the player that can take over a game with his quickness off the edge. And it was apparent again last week as Brees had way too much time back there in the pocket.
Yeah, no sacks of Brees last week in that Atlanta win. 1st and 10 here for the quarterback, Dalton. Hill. And he was in on the play by William Moore. He was the guy that forced the fumble to set up the game-winning field goal last week. It is a gain of 4 by the LSU rookie who set school records for yards per carry. 6.2 per carry for LSU.
And that's in the SEC. I mean, that's impressive. As you mentioned, powerful downhill runner. You study him at LSU. First defender was really the last to meet him on a running play.
Bernard was in the backfield. Trufant with the blitz. Gio Bernard hurdling defenders. It's Edwin Moses here in Cincinnati. On the 2nd down and 6. He flies down to the 35. He picks up 24 with a Bengal first down.
Well, you're going to see the pressure. It's going to come off the edge to Dalton's right. He does a nice job drawing the rush. And then once he sees that he's short, watch him just flick it to Gio. That's a good alert play by Dalton. And again, this guy in the open field is a nightmare. He has that low center of gravity, and we talked about that short area quickness and that suddenness. He is a tough tackle in the open field.
1st and 10, they go to Sanu. A block by Whitworth, a block by the tight end Gresham, and no gain on the play. Read well by Paul Warlow. He'll be watching Bernard all afternoon long, and Sanu.
Sanu was going backwards there. Trying to get behind that big offensive line, but he could have gone north and south. He was going east and west.
Here's another injury for Cincinnati. Alex Smith, the backup tight end, actually the 3rd in back of Eifert, who's gone, and Gresham, who's playing. Smith has gone with a bicep injury. So 3 guys hurt already, 2 gone for the day, both on offense. 7th play of the drive. Hill is back in. Going deep for Tate. Trufant defends. No yellow. Incomplete pass. They're working on Trufant.
They're not shy. Even without A.J. Green, they're going to take a couple shots each quarter. And Trufant does a really nice job rerouting the wide receiver and really pushing him to the boundary. Just watch him at the end. He just runs him right to the boundary. With the taught that technique to get out in front and reroute the receiver and force him, try and squeeze that area on the boundary.
As they tried to revamp that defense, they've got 6 new starters on the Atlanta defensive side this year.
And it really starts, I think, up front with Jackson and Soliai.
It's 3rd and 10. Hill will dance, and Warlow is right there to take his car. It is a gain of 3, not enough for a first down, and here they go again, trying for 3.
And what did Mike Smith tell us last night? He said, you know, we're not going to lose games by giving up field goals. And they've done a really nice job here tightening up in this part of the field.
Well, you like a kicker who missed his last one in Nugent, who can make them. But now this is a guy that kicked 5 last week. He's tried 2 today already, so they've tried in less than a game and a half. They're going for more field goals and shots to the end zone. And here from 49, he misses his 2nd consecutive miss. He missed from 38. He misses from 49, and we remain tied.
Kevin, they're stalling down in this part of the field. It's become a real problem for the Bengals.
Bengals have a little bit of an issue here.
That they do, and I think part of it is we're not seeing a lot of explosive plays on the perimeter to the receivers. Game's a lot more difficult without A.J. Green out on the field with Dalton.
4 defensive backs. It is 1st and 10 for Matt Ryan. Steven Jackson, big hole into the secondary. Out down by Lamour. He got some nice blocking up top, and it was a 13-yard first down run.
Well, this is good to see if you're the Falcons. Getting some movement up front. You see the double teams, and of course, Steven Jackson. He can still be a very effective runner. He is big, he's strong, he is powerful. He's always has done a good job finishing runs.
Holmes and Blaylock with good hole opening blocks from the 48, 1st and 10. Perlola with the block. Ryan going deep and looking for Jones. He got it! And then it was torn away by Iloka. It was right there.
It really was. And when I first saw him throw this ball, I thought to myself, he's trying to force this one into double coverage. But Jones runs right by the safety. The safety stumbles a little bit. He's got it. And then right at the end, you see.
Wow.
Iloka just pulled out.
He sure did. George Iloka, 3 years out of Boise State. He took over last season as a starter, his 2nd leading tackler in the secondary. 2nd down and 10. Whoops. Watch out. Dunlap. Like a hawk from the side. Down went Ryan. First sack of the game. Loss. Back to the 42. Loss of 9.
Well, he gets the turf monster, I think. I don't know. Oh, he does. He does trip on Steven Jackson. We talk about the importance of footwork. And this should happen between Matt Ryan and Steven Jackson. Either Jackson needed to be wider or Matt needed to be a little tighter in his footwork. That shouldn't happen on the play action shot.
5 wide, 3rd and 19. 6 in the Cincinnati secondary. Here comes Jones. Looking for blocks. Rodgers offers 1. He's forced out of bounds on the near side. Ran out of real estate on 3rd and 19. He picks up 11. Atlanta's going to punt, and we take you to New York.
Charles Barkley says the hooded one on the sideline gets better every week.
Yeah, this comes off a Darrelle Revis interception. Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, 9 yards out, touchdown. New England up 17-7.
Only Barkley can refer to him as the hooded one. Kevin Harlan, Rich Gannon.
Now the Patriots trying to avoid guys. Their first 0-2 start since 2001, and they're on the road this week in Minneapolis.
Isn't it amazing how we sometimes overreact in week 1? The Patriots didn't play well in the second half, lose to Miami. act like the season's over for the Patriots.
Tate, fair caught, 8-yard line, and the punt by Basha, a 39-yarder. So top weapons are out for the Bengals, who are tied with Atlanta in the second. Bengals have missed 2 field goals. We're halfway through the second quarter with Rich Gannon, Kevin Harlan. Thank you for joining us today. No Green, no Eifert. What's going to happen here?
It'll make things a lot more difficult for A.J. Green without question. I think Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, it's going to be more of an emphasis on running the football inside against an Atlanta defense that really struggled stopping the run a year ago.
And what are your early thoughts, Rich, on the Falcons?
You know what? I think they've really done a nice job, Kevin. There's been so much of an emphasis on getting bigger and getting stronger inside, doing a better job getting off of blocks and rallying and making some good stops around the line of scrimmage.
It is a 1st and 10 from the 9. This is the worst beginning field position for the Bengals today. Bernard under the teeth of that defense. Goodman on that line, part of a couple that make the stop. It was a gain of 3, and a look at the resume so far for the Bengals.
Well, this is concerning because it really goes back to what happened last week. They had to settle for 5 field goals after stalled drives down the red zone last week against Baltimore. And, you know, you look at missed opportunities. They have not looked sharp. Andy Dalton has missed a couple throws in that part of the field.
One of the big questions coming in, would the Falcons be able to get it done? 2nd down and 7. Bernard squirts free, and he's got the first down. Past the 20, near the 21 with a pickup of 9, up the gut.
Well, he is such a dynamic playmaker. I mean, he gives them, you know, the speed that they were missing a year ago with the law firm, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. And we know he's a threat to score at any time. He can take those 3- and 4-yard runs and go to the house.
He remains. It's 1st and 10. Dalton, good block by Whitworth and by Bowen. Trying to open up some space. The tackle was made by Bartu. It is a gain of 3 on the play, and he's up to the 23-yard line. Survivor is back with an all-new set of castaways competing against their loved ones for $1 million. Survivor premieres Wednesday, September 24th, only on CBS. Rich, 2nd down and 7.
You look at Andy Dalton trying to make sure they're straightened out. Use a lot of different personnel groups, especially now with Green out of the lineup.
Hill was in motion. Dalton. Bernard. Chased by Warlow. He gets a block downfield by Hewitt. He gets a block downfield from the rookie running back Hill, and he takes it all the way down inside the 30-yard line. A catch and run of 46 when it looked like Dalton was captured for a sack.
Well, he does a really nice job. He's going to be involved in the protection scheme first, and then he's going to get out in the route after Andy Dalton goes through all his progressions down the field. He just flips it to him again. We talked about how dynamic this guy is. He's so quick, and he's elusive, and he just has those natural instincts and feel in the open field.
It's Hill on 1st and 10. He'll pile drive his way into the tackle of William Moore. He picks up 13. It's another Cincinnati 1st down and another trip inside the red zone.
Here's a guy that really lowers his shoulders and keeps those legs churning. You see heavy doses of Bernard and Hill in the running game.
Hill comes in at 238 pounds. Here he throws that weight right back of the block of the center Bowen. And there's a tackle by Lowry. Also in there, Bartu. That's a pickup of 9 after a run of 13. He's a bit winded.
What I like about Jeremy Hill, he doesn't discriminate. He's going to knock over his own offensive lineman.
2nd down and 1. Bernard back in. And tries to find something right there. There's not a whole lot. Soliai among a couple in there for Atlanta, throwing him for a 1-yard loss. We shouldn't be surprised by what we're seeing from Bernard, because he led all running backs in catches and then runs of 20 yards or more a season ago as a rookie.
Well, that's why they went out and got him a year ago, because, you know, that's what he brings. I mean, he's a change of pace. He can run between the tackles, but he's got the ability to bounce it to the edge. And I think really where he's dangerous is in the screen game because he has such patience, and they've got an offensive line that can get out and get up on the second level.
Dalton facing 3rd and 2. Bernard's got the first down. As he takes it into the grasp of Robert McClain. He picks up 5. He's to the 4. It's 1st and goal, Cincinnati.
Well, they've got to do a better job getting off of blocks, disengaging, and this is a big offensive line.
First and goal. Bernard. When you consider that Bernard and A.J. Green, the receiver who's now out of the game, accounted for 53% of the Cincinnati touches last week against Baltimore, to lose half of that really is a sea change for this offense.
Especially down in this part of the field. How many times have we seen Andy Dalton throw a quick fade to A.J. Green in the back corner of the end zone?
2nd down and goal at the 4. Bernard, that's a touchdown with a great block by the guard. Kevin Zeitler opens the door. 4-yard Giovanni Bernard touchdown run.
Well, they do some unique things formationally. They put 3 wide receivers to the top of your screen and just run the off-tackle play to Bernard inside. These backs are going to be busy. It's going to be that type of a game. You look at Eifert, A.J. Green, Marvin Jones not in the lineup. These guys have to do more of the work today. Boy, they can't afford to lose Zeitler. But more players go down in the first half of this game.
Zeitler was the one who threw that great block and opened the door. Marvin Lewis says he's the hardest working guy I've ever coached. Paul Alexander echoed that, the offensive line coach. Timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. And by FedEx One Rate. Simple flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx.
We're waiting for the extra point after the 4-yard touchdown run by Giovanni Bernard. He and Hill were terrific. Hill had a run of 13 yards. Bernard had the big play, a 46-yard catch and run. Now the ensuing extra point by Nugent, who makes it a 10-3 Cincinnati lead. Rich, that was a 91-yard drive. Last year, the Bengals had an NFL-high 6 touchdown drives over 90 yards.
Really efficient, 10 plays, 91 yards, as you point out. They looked sharp, and they did a good job mixing it up, running the football, though, very effectively with both backs.
Now coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for the NFL's latest scores and highlights, as well as a special preview of Thursday Night Football on CBS and NFL Network. That's coming up from New York, the Verizon Halftime Report. And they're going to rely on these guys quite a bit. The good thing for Cincinnati is they can catch the ball equally as well as they can run the ball. With no Green, that's going to be big for Andy Dalton.
Yeah, and you look at 7 completions for Dalton. 5 of them have been to the running backs, and for some big plays. You look at Giovanni Bernard, he goes for 46. Hill had a long of 18. I think these Atlanta linebackers are going to do a better job snugging up a little bit and accounting for both the backs in the passing game. They've really been hurt by the simple check down over the ball.
Now let's swing to Atlanta. They're going to get the kickoff here. Limited time remaining in the first half. They'll have all 3 of their timeouts.
And the good news is they have one of the best quarterbacks in these situations. We saw it last week against New Orleans, not only before the half, but at the end of the game and in overtime. Matty Ice, one of the best in the business.
Hester will bring it out deep. And they bring him down. Tackle made by James Wright. He is a rookie receiver. 17-yard return. The tackle by 86. Well, coming next, the action rolls on as the NFL on CBS brings you the Chiefs against the Broncos. The Jets taking on Green Bay. or the Texans and Raiders. Check local listings for the game and time in your area. So 3 timeouts, as we said, for Matt Ryan. It's the worst starting field position today for the Falcons. Rich at their 11-yard line.
3 timeouts with 2:06. It's an eternity for a quarterback like Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you really have a different way of looking at things, huh, with this kind of situation. Rodgers in the backfield. 1st and 10. That's caught by Roddy White. With the beat on him across the way, Terrence Newman. So minimal gain. They get out to about the 12.5-yard gain. We're at the 2-minute warning and 1:59 to play in the first half. That was a beard only a mother could love, or a Bengals fan. Good fans here in Cincinnati. 2-minute warning, 2nd down and 9. Atlanta with 3 timeouts. Rodgers in the backfield. Holds at the block, and then they get by him again. It was Dunlap. The ball is free. They're going to say incomplete. Ryan was hit hard. They're coming around the right tackle, Holmes, and he's having a devil of a time with Dunlap.
He is a handful. You see the top of your screen, and he just slips back underneath. That's just enough to get the right shoulder pad of Matt Ryan. Dunlap's a handful. Led the team in quarterback hurries last year with 34, tied for the team lead with 7.5 sacks.
From the University of Florida. It's 3rd down and 9. Into the nickel. Ryan, you saw the flag, the subsequent throw, and Julio Jones gets away from Newman, picks up 20 on the play, and as it stands now, it's up to the 32 and a 1st down.
Illegal use of the hands. Hands in the face. Defense number 55. Penalties declined. Result of the play. 1st down.
Perfect.
Well, that's a big penalty in that situation. My goodness.
He's out. Vincent Ray will take his place. Still showing the nickel in the secondary. 3 timeouts for Atlanta. 1st and 10. Outside, Roddy White. And brought down by the defensive back, Leon Hall. Rich, a gain of 6.
Well, they don't give you a chance to catch your breath. No sooner that ball is completed, that offensive line is running to the ball.
With a 2nd down and 4 for Ryan. Just out of the reach. Dropped by Douglas. Linebacker coverage, secondary coverage. It was Terrence Newman right there. You can see some passing yards in this game, minuscule compared to a week ago against New Orleans.
Well, it's been a lot of short throws. I think most of his completions have been under 10 yards, a lot of under routes, a lot of quick hitting routes. Have not been able to get the ball down the field to Julio Jones or Roddy White.
Rodgers in the backfield, 5 in the Cincinnati secondary, 3rd down and 4. Ryan, incomplete. Hall was watching Smith. Ryan again was hit real hard on the play. This time he was steamrolled by Wallace Gilberry. It's 4th down. They got a punt.
Well, there's nowhere to go with the football there. He is looking. He's doing everything he can to extend the play, but there's just nobody open downfield. You have to give some credit to that Cincinnati secondary.
Gathers was the one to tag him. 2nd time he's gotten to Ryan today. They got a punt right now. Matt Bosher will send it skyward for Atlanta. Cincinnati's Adam Jones from the 19, weaving, breaking tackles. He's still on his feet and finally plucked down on the play by Prince Shenbo, and a fumble on the play, they say. And the ruling, as we wait, the guy saying he was down on the AstroTurf, or on this field turf, which first was developed back in '97. 43-yard punt, 23-yard Adam Jones punt return. So he has given Cincinnati very good beginning field position at their own 43 with the timeout. Up the Verizon halftime report. It'll be JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher. There you can see a former Bengal and a former Falcon getting after it. Scores, highlights, and news. Special preview of Thursday night. The Verizon halftime report. You can see what they did to their respective teams. They definitely put their fingerprints on those two organizations.
Long, healthy, and productive careers really for both of them. And I was fortunate to play with Tony early in his career in Kansas City, and he was so unique at that position.
Okay, let's go back and visit some of our early thoughts. First of all, A.J. Green is out. That'll be a continuing story today and maybe beyond. Atlanta trying to stop this Cincinnati running attack.
Yeah, they have to show that they can stop the run. 31st a year ago was a real weakness.
1st and 10 after the 24-yard punt return by Adam Jones. It's Bernard. Davidoff this time holds on for dear life and swings the former Tar Heel around at a loss of a yard on the play to the 42. Cincinnati has the one timeout as they continue. Now timeout taken by Atlanta. Also finishing drives. The Bengals, like last week against Baltimore, have not been able to finish drives in the end zone.
No, they've done a good job pounding the football downhill with both of their backs. Obviously, Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill, but Kevin, when they've got down inside the 30-yard line is really where they've had their issues. And again, it goes back to what we saw from them last week. Had their struggles on the road against the Ravens, 5 field goals in the first half in that game. They're doing a good job advancing the ball, but they're struggling down in the red zone. One of the problems, they're not getting the tight end involved. Jermaine Gresham has yet to have not only has he not had a catch, not even an attempt. So when you got A.J. Green out of the lineup, Marvin Jones out of the lineup, you've got Tyler Eifert out of the lineup, you have to be able to find somebody else. And it's important, I think, in the second half for Jermaine Gresham to be more involved, particularly down in that part of the field.
4 defensive backs for Atlanta. 2nd down and 11. On the move, Sanzenbacher. Lowry chases him down and brings him down after a catch and run of 26 to the Falcon 32. That is a career long.
Well, they've always liked Dane Sanzenbacher, the fourth-year player out of Ohio State. And you talk about being ready when your number is called, and we've seen that today from the 4th-year pro.
You've also talked about the maturation of Andy Dalton. Now you're down a couple of big offensive weapons, not to mention Marvin Jones, and this is part of that process, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not trying to force things. You know, we saw a little bit too much of that from him a season ago.
1st and 10 to go outside the hill. Holding on for dear life is Robert McClain, and a flag has been thrown, and he picks up a yard.
And I think that's one of the things, Kevin, we were talking about Hugh Jackson and what he's tried to instill in Andy Dalton as we listen to the call.
Offense number 11. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 1st down.
You see the hold right. So you get that hand outside right at the bottom of the screen. They don't usually miss that one. But Andy Dalton, I think the goal is to cut down on the mistakes and the turnovers and really not to try and make plays that aren't there. We mentioned the 20 interceptions last year, and Hugh Jackson said, you have to trust me. When we call a shot play and it's not there, don't worry. I'll give you another opportunity in the next series or in the next couple plays. We won't forget about you. But when it's not there, find me a completion. And he's done a good job of that, checking it down to the backs.
That's a good point. 1st and 20. 5 in the secondary. This is the shifty Bernard. Jumping on him was Prince Shembo, the rookie out of Notre Dame. It is a gain of 4 to the 38-yard line. On the other side, we know that Atlanta admired the toughness of Cincinnati. You're giving the eyeball test. Do you see it?
I think they've done a great job, and I think that last year was a real eye-opener for Mike Smith and Mike Nolan, their defensive staff. They didn't play well. There's no, I mean, there was plenty of room for improvement on that side of the ball, and I think that the focus was become a tougher football team. And I think we saw that through training camp, through the preseason. Mike Nolan had a lot of success everywhere he has been, but it wasn't up to their standards a year ago.
You surprised they didn't use the timeout just a minute ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at the situation in the game. I mean, can't imagine either team is satisfied from what they've seen in the first half.
3rd and 16. Underneath, first catch by the tight end Gresham, who has to climb over the tackle at Trufant. Clock continues to tick. The timeout is left for Cincinnati. Although they say...
No, he was right there.
They say that he was calling the timeout. And now they're going to talk about it. Atlanta is running off the field. The Bengals are staying on.
They may have to come back out.
They may have to.
Marvin Lewis was right there trying to get the attention of the official. And they're going to give him 1 second.
They sure are.
You have to look at the clock, and you also have to look down here at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, sure.
He's right there, and he was signaling for the timeout with a second to go.
Now, this will give Nugent a chance for a field goal. This is going to be right around, now depending on the spot, this will be right around his career long, and he's already missed 2 field goals today.
Well, at least they get the opportunity.
Runner was down in bounds, but as soon as he was down, the coach called timeout with 1 second on the clock. 1 second, please.
Nugent has missed both of his field goals at this end of the field. 1 wide left, 1 wide right. He only missed a handful of kicks all of last year. He had 1 blocked last week, and he's missed 2 today. So this will be a 56-yarder. This is a career long if he makes it. Mike is going to call a timeout. They have 2. They just moved it up now. It's a 55-yard field goal try, which would tie his career long, should he make it. So timeout taken by Atlanta. Here are the 2 misses earlier, Rich, from Mike Nugent.
Yeah, look, good snap and a good hold. He just pushes the first one right. And then maybe sometimes you come out and you do what? You try and adjust. Sometimes you over-adjust. I think when you keep hitting that T-ball left off the tee, you try to adjust a little bit. Next thing you know, you start hitting in the bunker on the right.
Sounds like you got experience with that.
Too much.
Well, the Falcons have not blocked a kick, a punt, an extra point, anything in over 4 seasons. We'll see what happens here. The wind is barely blowing. If it's blowing at all, it is in the face, but less than 5 miles an hour.
Nugent has to get this one up quick.
55-yarder to extend the lead. He does not get it, and he misses 3 in the first half after hitting 5 in the first half last week. So the Bengals absorb the loss of their huge playmaker, A.J. Green. Gio Bernard pulling up the slack, but Nugent missing 3 field goals. That is our halftime score. We take you to New York with our halftime from Verizon after this. And it was caught, and what a grab by Tate. Gio Bernard hurdling defenders. The Bengals have missed 3 field goals today and hold on to a 7-point lead over the Atlanta Falcons, 2-1-0 teams coming into week 2. Now let's take a look at the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam involving the quarterback Andy Dalton and his main target today, running back Giovanni Bernard.
Well, he's been so good out of the backfield, and he presents problems for a defense, and you got to account for them. They've got to do a better job with their linebackers and safeties getting down around the line of scrimmage and not allowing him to get up on the second level.
Bengals have moved the ball. Atlanta's been holding them out. 5 times Cincinnati has been in Atlanta territory, only 10 points.
Atlanta's done a nice job on defense, tightening up in that part of the field and really getting off the field on 3rd down and forcing them to kick some field goals. Offensively, though, Kevin, that's been the problem for the Falcons. They've got to find a way to crank it up here in the second half. Just 26 plays and 98 yards of offense, including just 50 passing yards from Matt Ryan. He was coming off a franchise record 448 yards a week ago against the Saints. They put up over 550 yards on Rob Ryan's defense. They have had their issues here today against Cincinnati.
Atlanta only one play over 20 yards. We'll see them in a moment, but right now it's going to be Cincinnati and Tate to a knee and a touchback. It'll be first down and 10 for Cincinnati. And Andy Dalton now has to probably shift the way he thinks along with his offensive coordinator, Hugh Jackson.
Well, they had to make some significant adjustments because of the injury situation. None more significant than A.J. Green and how that impacts the passing game. I think what we saw from Atlanta is a dramatic change in terms of what they've done with the secondary. They've been more apt to bring one of those safeties down around the line of scrimmage. Look how shallow they are. Look how many men you see in the box trying to stop the run.
Fake to Bernard, they roll out and they get the tight end involved right off the bat. That's two-time Pro Bowler Jermaine Gresham. Who's knocked down on the play by Lowry. It's a pickup of 5, and this is the resume in the first half for Cincinnati.
Well, they put together some nice drives. You got a 9, 10, 13-play drive. But look at those results. 3 missed field goals, and now you've got a kicker right now that's kind of questioning himself, and never a good thing. But they've got to do a better job finishing drives down in the red zone.
That was Sanu in motion. Second down and 5. And here comes Bernard. Good tackle made behind the line there by Robert Alford. And it's a loss of 3. So they'll push him back, Rich, to the 22. 9 consecutive home wins for Cincinnati. In Atlanta has lost their last 6 games outdoors outside the dome.
But Mike Smith will tell you this is a different football team that we see here today. And I think what happened a year ago is in the rearview mirror. And I think this team is really committed. They put a lot of work in the offseason.
5 defensive backs, third down and 8. He threw it away. Coverage all over the joint. They're going from Brandon Tate. And the first 3 and out for Dalton in the offense today for Cincinnati.
And this isn't a throw that Andy Dalton's going to like when he watches it tomorrow on film. Watch him at the end of this drop. He's drifting, he's fading, and he's not stepping into throws. We spent a lot of time talking to him on Friday about his mechanics. He's really worked long and hard on that in the offseason, but never going to make that throw, falling off all your weight going backwards at the top of the throw.
Huber with a good punt, and it's Devin Hester, the former Chicago Bear, from the 28 and up to about the 35. He picks up 6, a punt of 49 yards. Well, you just wait now, because Matt Ryan, who was so dialed in yesterday in our conversation with him, promises to come out in the second half. First second half possession for the Atlanta Falcons from their 36. It is first down and 10. Steven Jackson in the backfield. Ace defense, here comes Jackson. And Dunlap jumping on him. Also a stop by Malaluga. It is no gain on the play, and here's the first half for the Atlanta Falcons with only 1 drive over 6 plays.
Yeah, really a frustrating first half. You see 3 and out in there, and again, just 4 punts the first 5 possessions. And you look at the numbers, and they're startling. Just 98 yards of offense and just 50 passing yards from Matt Ryan.
With the second down and 10, Jackson with a quick block, and then they go outside to him. Got by Malaluga, brought down by Pecco. The catch and run to the 42. He picks up 7 on the play. Part of last year, Rich, which was a 4-12 Atlanta season, was the lack of a running game. They're under 50 yards in the first half rushing the ball. They now do it by committee, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, really, though, it gets to a real commitment to run the football. And you can't talk about it. You have to be willing to do it. And they have a little bit of a dilemma. They have so much talent at quarterback and wide receiver. When push comes to shove, they're going to put the ball in the hands of Matt Ryan.
3rd and 3. It was tipped. It's incomplete. Dunlap again with a good-looking defensive series. He's been all over the joint today. 3 and out. Falcons have got a punt.
And you wonder why Dunlap is dropping in coverage, because they do a nice job with some of their zone pressures, bringing the pressure from one side and dropping from the other. And he's athletic enough to do that and make a play in space.
Here's the punt from Bashir. Deep back is Tate. Great punt. I mean a rocket, which had a huge 5+ second hang time and a distance of 57 yards. So they keep it away from Tate. Bosher will walk with the nice punt under his belt, but trailing 10-3.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. And by the United States Marine Corps. The few, the proud, the Marines.
What if that Bryant ever thought she'd be on our game broadcast today after tying the knot yesterday? That's a good shot.
That's a great shot. It was a beautiful day yesterday and today here in Cincinnati. Great, as you said, Kevin, it's just a great day for football.
Great day to get married. 1st and 10 after a 3-and-out by both teams to start the second half. And Dalton gives off to Gio Bernard for a gain of 3 in our first half storylines. A.J. Green's leaving the field with an existing toe injury, part of the big story.
Yeah, Nugent missed a couple field goals. Giovanni Bernard's been very, very productive, especially on first down.
2nd down and 7 with the quick count. And he gets it to Bernard and read well that time for Warlow, who allows only a gain of 1 to the 24.
I really like Paul Warlow. I mean, he got my attention last season, an undrafted rookie from my alma mater, University of Delaware, led the team in tackles. He picked up right where he left off last season with 17 stops in their Week 1 win over the Saints.
3rd down and 6. They've gone to 6 in the Falcons secondary.
Here comes the pressure.
Up the middle. And they got it to go. Sanu galloping for 6. What a play. "76 yards, a career long, and the Bengals extend their lead." How about Dalton in the face of the blitz?
Well, you're going to see they bring all-out pressure, and Dalton's going to throw the post in right behind it. When they open up the middle of the field, Dalton makes a great throw sitting in there and getting it in the hands of Sanu. I always say, if you want to dance, you've got to pay the band. And that was, you're going to bring pressure, you better have an answer. And the Bengals answered in a big way.
Mohamed Sanu, a 3rd-round pick 3 years ago out of Rutgers. There was more project, they thought initially, but he's advanced so much. The former college and high school quarterback, who played a lot of receivers certainly, comes up with a terrific play. But what about Dalton? Standing strong in the pocket, into the teeth of the Falcon rush. And Sanu with a terrific answer. Andy Dalton has thrown touchdown passes of 77 yards and 76 yards in successive weeks. The last one to Sanu, last week to Green, which is a game winner. And now the lead expanded for Cincinnati.
Just a great understanding of the system and getting out of a bad play and into a good one.
It's Devin Hester. And brought down in the play by Newman. It's a return of 30 yards on the play.
When we go back and look at the all-22, clearly you could see the pressure coming, and Andy Dalton knew it. And what he does is he gets to the quick post. And with a tight split like this, the middle of the field is wide open. And that's just a great throw by the quarterback. And you look at Robert Alford, he's trying to get the hand in there. He's going to take a hit. They're one short. But he keeps his eyes down the field and makes a terrific throw in a critical situation.
Babineau came up the middle. Let's see how Atlanta responds. Ryan for his 29, 1st and 10. Kareem the block at the left tackle. And deflected, intercepted by Leon Hall.
Well, it's never a good thing when the ball is tipped, and Matt Ryan's trying to go to the tight end, Toilolo, And Vontaze Burfict, he's going to get the tip, and Leon Hall is right there to make the interception. Tight coverage on the tight end.
Good play by Burfict. And another game with a turnover. It's the first turnover of the game today, and Cincinnati begins at the 43-yard line of the Falcons. Leon Hall is coming back from 2 Achilles tears over the last couple of years. Newhouse is in. He's an extra blocking tackle. He works on Massaquoi. Handoff to Hill. Tackled on the play by Soliai after a gain of a yard.
They want to get the big bodies on the field, Kevin. You just mentioned having the extra tackle in the game. Marshall Newhouse, it's a big body. Put 3 tackles in there, all over 330 pounds.
It's second down and 9.
Wake your eye. Wake your eye. Have you right. Have you right. Have you right.
All the changes. You started with the center. He made a razor call where the line was going to slide right, and Dalton came in and trumped him.
Dalton. Gresham. Grabbed by Lowry. They beat William Moore. The gain to the 22. It's a 20-yard pickup by Cincinnati. Another first down.
You know, I thought it was interesting. We mentioned it in the first half. Gresham not a single catch. And they start the second half with an easy throw to him. I think it's always important to get your playmakers involved in the game early so that they can get their rhythm. See more of that here in the second half with Jermaine Gresham.
Especially when the number 1 tight end, Eifert, is gone. Injured and out 8 weeks. First and 10. Hill again. And he crawls to about the 19-yard line and smothered right there by a couple, including the rookie Shembo. Gain of 2. You said razor. What do you mean razor call?
Well, they make the line are typically going to make a number of different calls. Typically, when you hear a razor call, anything beginning with a razor as opposed to a laser left, razor right. So they're trying to do is slide the line to the right to take care of some of those penetrations. Both linebackers walked up in those A gaps between the center and the guard.
Second and 7. Trying to work his way out of the grasp of the linebacker. There's nothing right there. Shembo once again on a gain of 1. Yeah, so the quarterback's making calls at the line, and the center is making line calls.
That's why communication's so important. And with both of these quarterbacks, with Matt Ryan, of course, with Andy Dalton, they've been in these systems. They've got great familiarity. They're masters of their domain. They do a wonderful job communicating to the offensive line, to the tight ends, to the backs, making sure that everybody's on the same page.
That's a rookie center right there. You thought he played well last week.
Thought he really handled a situation on the road against a very good Ravens defensive line. He played well.
Third and 6, Sanu. Alford will be beaten on the play, but makes the eventual tackle. Rich, they get 8 on 3rd and 6. It is a first down at the 10.
Right, what I love about Sanu, and it's the same thing about A.J. Green, they have these long arms that can snatch the ball out of the air. So even when you have good coverage, they have the benefit of extending their hands and catching the ball away from their body.
Hugh Jackson and this offense give the defense a lot of different looks.
Well, he does a great job changing personnel, formations, short motions, adjustment. You're constantly having to move and readjust defensively.
It's a first and goal run from the 10 by Hill, who is a load, and he picks up 5.
Well, he's an impressive runner. I mean, he's kind of a throwback. I think the more carries, the more touches he gets, the stronger he gets through the game. And he was that way at LSU.
Second down and goal. Big play here, a 20-yard pass to the tight end, Gresham. Hewitt, the tight end in the backfield, and that offset eye. Hill to the 1. It'll be 3rd and goal at the 1. And they'll bring in Newhouse, and they'll bring in Pecco. They're going to bring in some beef.
Yeah, unique. You saw Domata Pecco. He's done this in the past. They'll put him at the fullback position. He's a great lead blocker, and he also has the ability to run that little shoot route out of the backfield.
And go out there as a receiver. We saw it in practice on Friday. 3rd and goal at the 1. Here at the tight end on the move. Hill follows Pecco in for 6. Hill with his first NFL touchdown. Ryan threw the pick on a deflected ball that set it up, and the Bengals cash in.
You know, you almost get the sense, you know, Matt Ryan likes playing from behind, and the thing I do know about him is that he won't panic. He's very poised. He's used to playing when they're behind in games on the road.
They're pulling away. 6:28 to play in the third. Everybody on their feet here in Cincinnati. High hopes for this Bengal team. Nugent makes it 24-3. And it was set up on the deflection by Burfict. And Hall reels it in. And then with the defensive tackle, Pecco and others leading the way. It's the rookie out of LSU, finding 6.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Just you and the look you want. And by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable network.
I love glimpse. Aerial coverage of today's game is provided by MetLife. And a sun-splashed Cincinnati Sunday. Well, 24-3 Bengals. Cashing in moments ago on a Leon Hall interception on a pass by Ryan. 2 second-half touchdowns by Cincinnati. One was a 76-yard touchdown pass to Mohamed Sanu moments ago. Rookie Jeremy Hill with a 1-yard touchdown run, and Andy Dalton has been at the center of it all.
Yeah, he's really made some great decisions. Pre-snap decisions, post-snap reads, getting the ball out of his hands quickly.
Hester will leave it 8 yards deep in the end zone. We haven't talked much about the new defensive coordinator for Cincinnati, Paul Guenther, who replaces Coach Mike Zimmer, who's now the head coach with the Minnesota Vikings.
Kevin, he's a good one. I think a lot of the credit has to go to Marvin Lewis. It's not often that you lose 2 assistant coaches in the office, 2 coordinators. Lost Jay Gruden to Washington as a head coach. Mike Zimmer, as you point out, Kevin, to Minnesota. They promote from within. Hugh Jackson, we've been talking about. Paul Guenther has done a great job today. And with this defense, even last week on the road in Baltimore, they do a good job disguising their intentions, really making Matt Ryan make as many post-snap reads as possible.
Jaquiz Rogers is tied up by Pecco. Inside after a gain of 5. On the play, Atlanta in the second half, Rich. 1 3 and out, 1 turnover in their 2 previous possessions.
Well, I think when we visited with Paul Guenther on Friday, I think one of the things, how this defense is going to be different, I think we'll see more multiple. There'll be more multiple with their fronts. Also with their pressure packages on third down, we've already seen that. And really in talking to him on Friday, I think he wants to use more of their personnel, especially in their sub packages. We've seen 5 and 6 and 7 defensive backs on the field.
Jones 3 catches, Roddy White 3 catches, Jaquiz Rogers second down, long 5, and he rams his way into Devin Still, who's on that line on a gain of 4. Still number 75, and that's been a story here in Cincinnati and throughout the NFL. It still is in. Jersey sales donated to pediatric cancer support of his daughter and the cause. Fans, other teams, head coaches have bought that, with all proceeds going to pediatric cancer research.
How about Saints head coach Sean Payton buying 100 of them? You know, this Marvin Lewis said it's great to see him smile once again. He'd been under so much stress, had a somber look for so long. It was a tremendous gesture by this organization.
Third down, 1. Rogers takes it inside, picks up 2 just to finish off Still. He was a high pick a couple years ago out of Penn State. He was let go in the preseason, but they signed him back to the practice squad. Number 1, he's a good player, but number 2, as we all know, insurance is a pretty important facet of any family, certainly his in this situation, and the Bengals took care of that by putting him back in the practice squad.
He wasn't a vested player, hadn't been in the league 4 years, so he wouldn't have qualified for health insurance had he been released and not re-signed.
Here comes Roddy White across the middle with a 19-yard pickup and a first down, and hit by Nelson, and they move the chains to midfield.
Well, this is good to see if you're Mike Smith. They've got to be able to get the ball down the field a little bit. A great shot there by Matt Ryan to Roddy White.
And a better tempo, too. Hand off to Devontae Freeman, who's out of Florida State. He's a rookie. Flag is thrown on the play. A 4th-round pick. Freeman. And they like him. 7-yard gain right there. Hall made the stop.
Holding. Offense number 61. 10-yard penalty. Retrieve first down.
Falcons have only run 7 plays in Bengal territory so far this afternoon. It's not too late to sign up and play NFL.com fantasy football. Get free mobile apps and exclusive instant highlights. Sign in under 2 minutes and play for free at NFL.com/fantasy. 1st and 20 with the penalty. Rich back to the 40-yard line.
I just can't afford mistakes. Push themselves back in the down and distance. 1st and 20. Not easy against the Cincinnati defense.
Bengals in the nickel. In the middle, and they've got a nice gain right there. It's Harry Douglas, who's brought down by Burfict. It's a 12-yard pickup, and he crosses midfield to the 48.
You know, we talked about staying true and your commitment to running the game, running the football. I think it's Matt Ryan time. It's time to put the ball in his hands. I think in a critical situation, you don't think of plays, but you think of players, and it's time for this guy to take over this game.
2nd down 8. Moves up. He got by Gilbert. He hits the deck right there. And, it looked like maybe Lemur. And then you see Burfict, who again got hit in the head with the knee. And it's the 2nd time he's going to stagger off the field. Came in with a concussion last week. Passed the protocol this morning. There are 2 layers they got to go through. The team does their own concussion protocol. Then they bring in an outside party to administer a very arbitrary look. Watch the knee.
Bam. Right in the back of the head. He has had some bad luck here the last 2 weeks. We talked about the concussion last week when he sacked Joe Flacco. And of course, he hits Matt Ryan earlier. He gets dinged, and now I think it's about time to take the helmet away and shut him down for the day.
It might be, especially with this lead. It's interesting that the 2 top tacklers for these teams are guys that were rookie free agents. Burfict for Cincinnati, and Warlow, who's out of Delaware, some little school out east.
In Newark.
In Newark, Delaware. But Warlow was a rookie free agent as well.
Well, I think it's not an exact science. And you look at Vontaze Burfict. Kevin, this guy is a really good player. Led the Bengals in tackles last year. Led the National Football League with 171 stops. So it's interesting. Both really textbook tackles, but you see him getting up really slow. And you know, when you have a concussion, you're more apt, you're more susceptible to more of them. You know, once you've had that you've been concussed. So I think it's time for this guy to put the baseball cap on and shut it down.
Jaquiz Rogers is coming as a back. It's 3rd down and 2 for the Atlanta Falcons. Ryan White, 1st down. Working on Newman, 8-yard pickup to the Bengal 34.
This is a really good throw. I mean, this was pretty good coverage, and you're going to see Matt Ryan. He's going to slide out of the pocket, but pretty tight coverage, and he puts it right on the boundary. Roddy White can make the catch. Big first down.
Has now caught a pass, Rich, in 114 consecutive games. Something else. 1st and 10, Steven Jackson. Worked into the grasp of Malaluga and Lemur. It's a gain of 5 to the 29 as we take you back to our CBS studio.
Tannehill to Wallace.
This is why they paid Mike Wallace big money. Watch this great catch by him, this fade route. Tannehill to him. Remember, they were down by 10 to New England last week, down 9 this week. Coming back, 16-10.
Kevin Harlan.
2nd down and 4, James here. More Steven Jackson. Sent up the middle. Gilberry Wazera. Loca came in on 2nd and 4. He picks up 6. He gets the 1st down to the 22.
And this is what Steven Jackson needs to just hit it and go downhill. I mean, too often we've seen him try to bounce runs. He's so much better when he runs up inside and uses the power to speed element in his game.
Deepest penetration of the game so far for Atlanta.
The safety right on the line of scrimmage here.
These are smart guys back there, aren't they?
And you can see they're going to bring pressure.
Marcus Hunt is in 99. Intercepted! It's the 2nd one. This is George Iloka. The angular safety out of Boise State took over last year and comes up with the interception, the second Cincinnati pick of Matt Ryan.
Well, it just misses. They bring a six-man pressure. You can't throw it behind the receiver on the.
Well, Matt Ryan looked so good, Rich, last week against New Orleans.
He's just out of rhythm. I mean, you look at the numbers, 14 of 24, 106 yards and 2 interceptions.
Or is it the defense?
Well, I think it's a combination. It's, you give Cincinnati a lot of credit, but Matt Ryan has not been able to make any big plays. And so many of those completions, some of those 14 completions have been short and intermediate checkdowns and little underneath routes. But it's never a good thing when you're tripping over the back. Protection at times has been leaky. You throw it to your tight end and your ball gets deflected and you miss Harry Douglas on a post route against pressure. He's got to play better.
Second down and 6. Giovanni Bernard. Whew. Man, oh man. If he ever loses it as a football player, he can go to the Olympics as a hurdler. That time running for 12. He's hurdled 3 different players today on the Atlanta side. He picks up a first down run right there.
He's so quick too and through the hole. And then we talked about how elusive he is and his ability to leap defenders. He has such a powerful lower body when you really study him. And his natural instincts. He's just got a great feel for running the football.
He's got 69 yards on the ground. Hill is in. Hill's got a touchdown run of the yard. Gets it right here. Bodine is pulling. Brought down on the play by Warlock. It's a gain of 7. Both these quarterbacks, Rich, don't wear the wristband with the plays written on them. A lot do. These two guys don't, and it probably makes a lot of sense because they're 2 of the smarter quarterbacks in football.
Well, they've been in these systems. I think that's so important. Continuity within the system. These guys have great understanding, and they're able to call plays, and especially in the 2-minute situation.
Okay, 2 third-quarter touchdowns by the Bengals. A 76-yard touchdown pass Dalton to Sanu. 1-yard touchdown run, and that's our score at the end of 3. Perfect is done for the day. Heading to the locker room. The concussion knocked him out in the first half last week. He's gone now. Second down and 4. It's Bernard. On our first play of the 4th quarter, flag is thrown on the play. Another one, too. Late hit, looks like.
It seems like one of those games where everything's going wrong for the Falcons. I mean, they just can't get it right. It looks like you have an offensive penalty, then you got a late hit on the boundary.
There are 2 fouls on the play, 1 by each team. Holding, offense number 77, personal foul, horse collar. Defense number 59. By rule, the penalty's offset. Replay, second down.
So once again, it'll be second down and 4. One thing about Dalton, Rich, is this offensive line has protected him well. He has not been sacked in 7 quarters.
You know, we talked about it. If you're going to play in this division, you better be able to protect the quarterback in the AFC North. Some great defenses in Baltimore and Cincinnati, or Cleveland and Pittsburgh. And they're big up front, and they get great movement off the line of scrimmage in the running game. We've seen that throughout this game.
That's Bernard on second down and 4. Bartu and Moore were there. It's a gain of 9. Mike Pollock continues to play the guard position for Cincinnati in place of Zeitler. So it's a first down up to the Cincinnati Bengal 47-yard line.
The real difference in this game offensively for Cincinnati is their success running the football on first down. They've had 20 runs and 4 passes on first down, and you've got 2 backs with over 60 rushing yards each, and each a rushing touchdown.
Bernard. Bodine trying to throw the block, and getting in the way there was Bartu. Cincinnati has 147 rushing yards this afternoon against that Atlanta defense.
And they talked about that during the week, and the fact that, you know, they wanted to run the football, they wanted to really dominate in the trenches, and I think so far they've done that. And You've got a couple of really good backs. Bernard's had some success, 79 yards rushing. Hill was 61.
14 more minutes, baby.
Really taking it to this front seven of the Falcons.
And different kind of backs, too. One kind of a scat back. The other one, Hill, is a bulldozer. Second down and 9. Gresham with the block as a tight end. It's a good catch, but it's out of bounds. Good effort made there by rookie James Wright, who was inactive last week. He had a concussion late in preseason. It's incomplete.
He just runs out of room on the boundary. A little bit of a high throw. Gets the right foot in, but not the left foot.
Well, at LSU, that's good.
He's got to realize he's not at LSU anymore. It's the big boys.
He played for the Bayou Bengals. Now he's playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Third down and 9.
Let's go. Come on, go.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him running here.
5 defensive backs. Bernard is in. Late release. Drill. Good read by Dwight Lowry.
Or a screen.
Yeah. Lost 3, and they're going to have to punt. And that is not a good sign. That's their All-Pro or their Pro Bowl left tackle, Whitworth, another LSU player. 42 starts here he's had of late. He's been terrific in so many ways for this team, especially with a high-priced quarterback now to protect in Andy Dalton.
Well, he's one of the leaders on this team, a very unselfish player. You look at him on the left side, if someone rolls up on him or what.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yep. When he gets pushed right back over on that left leg. We talked about him being an unselfish player. He was a Pro Bowl left tackle last year because of some injuries. He was asked to play guard.
Yes.
And so he did a real nice job. Very versatile.
Devin Hester is back to retrieve the Kevin Huber punt. Huber, who played at the University of Cincinnati, is a Cincinnati native. They blow it dead. False start, I believe, on the Bengals.
False start. Offense number 53. 5-yard penalty. Still fourth down.
So Zeitler is out with a calf. He is their starting right guard. Burfict is out. He is their leading tackler. A.J. Green was out in the first half with a pre-existing toe injury, which he aggravates.
Yeah, not good. You know, when you're struggling like the Falcons and you can't get anything going offensively, one thing that gets you back in the game is a big play in the return game. And they could use something big right now from Devin Hester.
Here we're to punt again. Well, Hester's always a threat.
He's going to get a chance. I thought he might bring that one back.
In fact, he's got 13 punt returns for a touchdown. 37-yard punt. Back out charges Matt Ryan. Well, they call themselves Scorpion. 4 of the smartest people in the world working together to fight threats against America. Inspired by a true story. Scorpion premieres Monday, September 22nd. Only at CBS. There's the Ohio River once again. Beautiful afternoon. Nothing to Julio Jones in this half. Ryan has thrown 2 interceptions from his own 23. Jackson in the backfield. And changing the play.
You see how deep they are in the secondary. Cincinnati's not going to give up the big play.
4 in the secondary. Jackson. And Gathers slowed him down. And then finished off by Vincent Ray after a gain of 3.
Obviously, this is a critical drive for Atlanta. I like the idea of going no huddle. Putting the game in the hands of Matt Ryan. Let him do what he does best. Just get out of his way. Let this guy throw the ball. Let this guy sprinkle the ball around the infield a little bit. You see them checking out of a pressure. Right up here, you see the linebackers turn to the secondary.
Yes. 2nd and 7. Ryan will slide for the first down on the run. Geno Atkins finally brought him down. Gain of 11 for Ryan. So when they're doing that's a signal to everyone that we're going to change the defensive play.
Well, it's a chess match. You hear Matt Ryan make a call. The linebackers recognize that, and they turn to the secondary. They start clapping. They check out of their pressure, and they get to some type of 2-deep coverage.
1st and 10, Jackson. And tackled at about the 41-yard line. Grabbed on the play by Dunlap on a gain of 5 for Steven Jackson.
A little surprised to see them still running the football, Kevin. We're inside 12 minutes now, and they're down 24-3. And you look at Cincinnati's ability to run the football. They get the ball back. They're going to milk the clock. I think there's got to be more of a sense of urgency from this Atlanta offense.
And Tom Smith is checked in. 2nd down and 5 from the 41 for Atlanta.
A really nice throw.
It was. There's Julio Jones inside of Iloka. Slides at the 20 after a gain of 23 to the 35 and a 1st down.
You see him run right into the line of scrimmage. Matt Ryan trying to hide the signals a little bit. He talked to us last night about how the centers are mic'd up on television. Other teams are listening to that, and it's making it more difficult for him. He has to change up some of his calls each week because they become so familiar to opposing defenses.
That's a 1st and 10 throw to Smith out of the backfield. Tripped up by Lamar. Picks up 15 yards on the play. That's another Atlanta Falcon 1st down.
We talked about Matt Ryan not looking in rhythm in the 1st half. Well, this is the guy that we know, that we recognize. And again, sometimes going no huddle, sometimes having him call plays at the line of scrimmage can help get you back in rhythm. It helps speed things up a little bit. It makes it more difficult for Cincinnati to make adjustments and dial up those pressures.
Bengals in the nickel. This goes outside. Beautiful break up right there by Adam Jones. Working on Julio Jones. Adam Jones had to start 13 games last year because of injuries in that secondary.
Well, it's so important to keep coming back to the football. You've got these Cincinnati corners playing off and inside when they pressure, and they just have their eyes on the quarterback. They do a great job driving on those out-breaking routes.
Good-looking drive by Atlanta. It began back at their 23. Big play, a 23-yard pass to Jones, Julio Jones. 2nd down and 10.
Oh, good protection.
Ryan held and sacked by Nelson. It's another Cincinnati sack. They've got 2 today, and they bring in the secondary to put on the pressure. And the Wasps will be back to the 28.
I really thought it was good protection. Go ahead and roll it, and just, you got the protection. Now, where is he going to throw it? Go ahead and freeze it right there. I mean, here, nobody's open. He's got nowhere to go with the football. It's a covered sack by the Bengals.
Rodgers is in, 3 wide, 5 in the secondary, 3rd and 19. Hit again. This time he escapes. Now he's being chased by Gilberry, who's blocked by Blaylock, and the throw on the fly. Rodgers picks it up, takes it down, stays on his feet, and works his way to the 13. Brought down on the play by Terrence Newman, and very close to a 1st down. He picks up 16, flag thrown on the play. He picks up 16 on 3rd and 19.
What a terrific play by Matt Ryan. It looked like he was going to get sacked 3 or 4 times. Great job spinning out and keeping that one alive with his legs.
He looks stronger this year. You mentioned this back in the 1st half.
He really does. I mean, I think he's really worked at it. And talking to Mike Smith, the head coach, last night, he had
Holding. Defense number 24. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic 1st down.
3rd and 19, you got a holding penalty. Look at him run. Look at keep 2 hands on the ball, protecting the football, keeping his eyes down the field, and able to find Rodgers late on the boundary.
Good catch. Yeah, they took before and after pictures, didn't they, of the players in training camp for the Falcons?
Yeah, that's right. When they came back, one of the guys that had the most improvement in terms of his body composition, he may have been the best, according to Mike Smith, was Matt Ryan. Got in that weight room and really started throwing around a steel. A lot like you in the offseason.
That's right. I'm always throwing around steel.
You know, those squats and those cleans and those presses, and you're crazy.
All that stuff. Cincinnati. It's
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company and the first ever MKC. the new Samsung Galaxy S5. The next big thing is here. And by the new Dollar Cravings menu at Taco Bell. Live Moss.
Matt Ryan's thrown 2 interceptions, and Andy Dalton's thrown 2 touchdown passes today. This Thursday, your football week starts here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Big-time matchups go prime time Thursday night on Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS.
Well, I love watching Thursday Night Football.
I know you do.
I hated playing in them, though. It's hard. It's a tough turnaround. Teams on the road, a short week, injuries. It's tough sledding for some of these teams on a Thursday night.
Then on the backside, you get some extra time off.
It's like a little mini bye in the middle of the season.
1st and 10. Into the nickel. Ryan, and incomplete to Julio Jones. And Newman is right there. What do you think of the secondary of Cincinnati?
They've done a nice job today in coverage and communication, doubling up. You see Newman there. He's going to come back to the ball. Watch Julio Jones at the top of the route. Now keep coming back. Keep coming back to the quarterback. The defender beats you back to the ball. That's something they'll correct. They watch that film on the plane ride home.
Rodgers is in. They've got 5 in the Cincinnati secondary, as we've seen most of the day. A couple times they've gone to base and had just 4. With 5 still, 2nd down and 10. Julio Jones.
Oh, that's easy, isn't it?
Yep, stiff arms his way into Adam Jones, and he's close to a 1st down. He's at the 14-yard line.
This is just really nice job by Matt Ryan. You've got the one-on-one, you've got some off coverage, and you got one of your best receivers against a smaller corner.
So on this drive, Julio Jones has caught passes of 23 and 10. Smith caught one of 15. Ryan ran for 11. Rodgers caught one on a dive for 16. So some pretty good looking plays. Here's the 10th play of this drive from the 14-yard line, 1st and 10. Asamoah with a good block, and that allows time, and they get Julio Jones in the end zone, beating Reggie Nelson. 14-yard touchdown pass for Matt Ryan. Showing some life, and 8.5 to play.
This team is not going to roll up and quit. They're just, it's not who they are. It's not in their DNA. Good protection and a terrific throw by Matt Ryan. That's the matchup they wanted. Julio Jones on the safety.
Ryan with the touchdown pass, and Jones, who is the top high school player in the country out of a little school in Alabama that went to play for Nick Saban there. That was really the first big recruit that Saban had at Alabama, was Julio Jones. 14-yard touchdown right there. Here comes Matt Bryant to try to tack on one more, and he does with 8.5 to go. Jones injured last year, but he is right at the top of the list among the great receivers in the NFL. A terrific cut, space on Nelson, and the touchdown. Now Matt Ryan talking with his offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter, on the sideline after a touchdown pass of 14 yards to Julio Jones.
Well, they looked really sharp on that drive, and early whistle.
Yeah, flags. Play was really almost stopped in mid-motion. And you don't think it's too early to try the onside kick, do you?
They just tried it there.
I know that, but I mean,
I was thinking, you know, you and I were talking during the break, Kevin, with down 24-10 with all 3 timeouts and 8:35. I thought it would have been too early to try it in that situation.
Well, somebody for the Falcons is ticked off at somebody for the Bengals, and they've got to be restrained. And he ran over so fast, it looks like it's Moore. Their defensive back, Josh Moore out of Maryland, ran all the way across the field to have something to say to a Cincinnati player. But there were a couple in the vicinity, so you're not really sure who it was directed at. Anyway, Cincinnati was ready for the onside kick because Atlanta and their kickoff man, Matt Bosher.
Personal foul. Receiving team number 36. 15-yard penalty, and we're going to re-kick.
Ooh, that's
Even with the timeout,
that's huge.
It sure is.
Personal foul must be enforced.
Now you definitely try the onside kick.
Sean Williams, because last year Bosher had 3 successful onsides kicked for the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, they were going
3 of them.
Yeah, they were trying. They were getting ready to try it, and then of course we had an early whistle there. Yeah, you're going to see the official right here. He's running on the field.
They really blew it dead before almost anything else. There were players there that were walking around. That was a big stick by Sean Williams of the Bengals into Moore. Cincinnati using a timeout.
Well, part of the problem, Kevin, is you don't always see that. You know, you see the ball coming at you and you hear a whistle. Just watch the hit that happened. Good. Just watch this. Boom. He's looking at the ball. He never even hears the whistle.
Yeah.
You see those flags come right out.
Because you could see some Bengal players beginning almost to walk away from the play.
What are you supposed to do when you got a guy running at you? Not block him?
Right.
You don't always hear that whistle. It was one whistle from the far sideline.
The Bengals were trying to call a timeout, which they got assessed for before the kick. Now the kickoff is from the 50. Let's watch the Bengals call timeout there at the 45-yard line, right 45. Timeout taken. Bosher continues to go through. Some Bengal players literally now just release their stance and stand straight up and walk, except for Sean Williams. Here we go again. Onside kick. Pearman may have gotten it, number 30. Gray was there too. Now Pearman is a running back, and then the subsequent shoving after the play. Weems is in there. He's one of the littlest guys on the team.
Now you're just throwing money away. The league office, they just review these videos every Monday and they start mailing out fines.
Spoken like a true Raider.
I'm proud that we led the league in penalties every year.
And in fines. I'm sorry. You said
you couldn't help it.
I know I couldn't help myself.
Well, they come with a different onsides now. Mosher tries to pooch it up the middle.
It didn't go 10 yards.
Pearman ready for it.
He got it after 9, it looked like. But that's going to be a Cincinnati possession at the 41.
Well, if you're Atlanta now, you just got to get a 3 and out. You got to get a stop. Turnover would be huge.
Bernard is in the backfield. It's a 1st and 10 for Andy Dalton, and the handoff goes to Gio Bernard. Into a thicket of Atlanta players and defensive stoppers, and at the bottom is Warlow with a gain of 4 up to the 44-yard line.
Dalton's done a really nice job, Kevin, not just today, but even going back to last week, taking care of the football. Getting it out, not throwing the costly interception, not trying to fit it into traffic or a tight window.
With the 2nd down and 6, here comes Bernard. They're not afraid to send him up the middle, even though he's a very small stature. It's a gain of 3. And the subsequent pile right there. Plays, of course, called in from the sideline to these quarterbacks. Did you have trouble with the communication in your helmet when the guys are calling in the plays from the sideline?
Sometimes, you know, most of the time, Kevin, would be on the road. You had some issue. Seemed like on the road in the division. Go figure.
Right, yeah. That makes sense, doesn't it? Now 3rd and 3 now for Dalton.
This is a critical play for this Atlanta defense.
Block him well. They go outside to Bernard. He picks up 2. Shembo brings him down. He is going to be short. He's going to be right at midfield. And he's going to be a yard shy. So it's 4th and 1. And Cincinnati's going to punt. You were ahead of the play because that Atlanta defense held. Now they get the ball back.
Really nice tackle by the linebacker here on the back. And again, these backs have really hurt this Falcons defense. Good job there, getting a 3 and out.
Hester is back. Huber will punt.
I would not give Hester an opportunity to return this ball. You talk about directional punting. I kicked this one out of bounds.
A long snap, and Hester will wave it off. And there goes a flag. The ball is saved. Kirkpatrick was down there, but there is a flag at the 16-yard line. 48-yard well-placed punt by Huber, who gave those guys a chance to get down there and save the ball from bouncing into the end zone.
Right?
Mentioned before that
That's the
Bill
kicking
Vinovich is
team,
a
right?
college basketball official. He's mainly in the Pac-12. He was a guy a couple years ago. Remember, Rich, they had a heart issue. And
yes, he did.
He had to leave the game for a while. It was some serious business. Had surgery. Looks hale and hearty. We talked to him before the game. He looks great.
During the click, illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 21. After they keep the ball, Atlanta keeps the ball.
So Atlanta is going to be deep in their own territory. It was saved nicely right here by the Bengals. Timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway Restaurants. Fuel your training routine at Subway. Subway, train hard, eat fresh. And by Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive.
Matt Ryan with 2 picks and 1 touchdown pass today. He's got the ball at his 2. Week 2 continues later today on CBS and for some of you on Fox. Then tonight with Sunday Night Football on NBC. And tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN. They'll be at their 1-yard line. Back of the football's touching the 1. Last drive was a good-looking one for Ryan and his team.
Their best of the day. Started with a nice scramble by Matt Ryan. You get the ball to Julio Jones on a quick dart route. Of course, the touchdown throw from Matt Ryan to Julio Jones against the safety, Reggie Nelson. I need another long, maybe a quick drive. Big shot down the field. Wouldn't be surprised to see him take a shot in this situation backed up.
Now, you've been in a position like this as a quarterback yourself, haven't you?
There's got to be a sense of urgency now, Kevin. With 6-12, you're down by 2 scores. You've got all 3 timeouts. You've got to play fast. You've got to get in and out of the huddle. You've got to communicate the line. The offensive line, this is where they really earn their money. They've got to protect Matt Ryan, but after a completion, they've got to, that's in the playing field, they've got to hustle down there and get lined up.
And we know the defense will be ready for Cincinnati.
Absolutely. It's not a time to get scared if you're Paul Gunther and the Bengals. I think you still have to be aggressive.
Jackson in the backfield. In the shadow of his own crossbar, Jackson. 1st and 10 run. Just trying to get some breathing space, and there's not a whole lot there because Pecco comes through and makes the stop on a gain of a yard for Atlanta.
I'm surprised they're just taking their time. And they're huddling.
Yeah, you're talking about no urgency for Atlanta. They've got 3 timeouts, but boy, that clock seems to be moving awful fast if you're a Falcon fan.
Well, you don't want to be using timeouts in this situation. They just got to get in. They got to get on the ball like they did last drive.
Extra offensive lineman is in Ryan Schrader on the near side. Extra tackle. 2nd and 9. Thank you, Rich. Deep drop. Toilolo, the tight end. And hit by Newman and others. He's close to a 1st down. He takes the ball up to the 12. They do get the 1st down. Pick up a 10 for the Falcon tight end, Toilolo.
Good look at Dirk Cutter, the offensive coordinator. He's doing his part. He's getting them in. He's dialing them up quick, getting them in to Matt Ryan. Now it's a question of the other 10 guys on the field speeding up their process. About a 4-man rush from the Cincinnati defensive line.
Nickel secondary for Cincinnati. 1st and 10 for Ryan. Here comes Dunlap, and that's all he can do is throw it away.
Smart.
Dunlap has had his way with that right tackle, Lamar Holmes, most of the afternoon.
Well, Lamar Holmes, he gave up 10 sacks a season ago. You're just going to see it's right. This is the matchup. And he's actually flexed. He's going to get help. It's the tight end and the tackle. So they're actually doubling him.
And they can't stop him. Not right. Toilolo was there on that side.
That's a mismatch. The tight end on the defensive end.
Jaquiz Rogers has come in. 2nd down and 10. Low, broken up. Beautiful break up by Terrence Newman. They were going for the very talented receiver, Roddy White. He's got 3 catches today.
Well, they're going to bring pressure and So many of these quick routes, they've seen these a bunch now, these little under routes, and Terrence Newman, the 12-year veteran, he's not buying it. He drives right on the under.
Ryan on 3rd down and 10. Finding someone deep. Nope, nobody home. Iloka watches it whistle over his head. There wasn't a player in sight because Jones had fallen at the 29 and the ball then whistled about 15 yards downfield. And he's hurt, as you can see.
Yeah, Matt Ryan never sees him fall down. He's busy stepping up in the pocket.
One thing that Matt Ryan told us, Rich, last night, he said this offseason was different. I didn't have Roddy White because he was coming off an injury. I didn't have Julio Jones because he was injured. And I couldn't do my normal offseason work with my main receivers.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time really coaching up the younger players. It's been a different offseason for him. You know, you lose Tony Gonzalez and Roddy and Julio didn't do a lot. He's really been spoiled the last 5 years with that trio. And even Harry Douglas. Start over at the tight end position, and you add Devin Hester, they're still going to be very good in the passing game, but for whatever reason, they have looked out of sorts in some situations. They've not been able to get the ball downfield enough to Julio Jones and Roddy White.
Delay game, as you can see. And still in the back of his end zone is the 4-year veteran Bosher. Adam Jones is back near midfield for Cincinnati. Long snap coming from Josh Harris. Woof. They came close. Taylor Mays almost got a hand on it. Jones, hang time of over 5 seconds. That was good. Look at him, the elusive. Jones hard to bring down and finally grabbed on the play by special teamer Patrick DeMarco, who's a backup fullback. Loss of 2, 48-yard punt, and a good one by Bosher. The Big Bang Theory is time traveling to a new night. Monday with back-to-back episodes. Don't miss Emmy winner Jim Parsons as the new season begins Monday, September 22nd, only CBS.
Well, you're going to see a bunch of runs here from Cincinnati. And this Atlanta defense, every day they work on ball extraction, ripping that ball out. Someone's got to punch a ball out. Someone's got to try and knock the ball loose from one of these Bengal backs.
We got the rookie Hill back there now with a tight end who is Ryan Hewitt. He's a rookie free agent out of Stanford.
Somebody's got to wrap up and somebody's got to rip and strip.
Here's the 1st and 10. Hill. Rushing with the block. Hewitt with the block. And he squirts free and wiggles his way for a gain of about 5 down to the 48-yard line of the Falcons.
He's a good-looking runner. I've been so impressed with what I saw from him. That didn't get a lot of opportunities last week in Baltimore. A lot more carries today. 13 carries for Jeremy Hill.
So we have a timeout. That's the first taken by Atlanta. Good day for Andy Dalton again. It's 2 long touchdowns by this offense, 15 of 23. And we were talking to him at practice on Friday about what his offseason routine is. And he said he took it to another level.
He really did. I think that he took it upon himself to get better. And he spent some time with Tom House, a former major league pitcher and a renowned pitching and throwing coach. And, you know, if guys like Drew Brees and Tom Brady are working with Tom House, then I want to go work with Tom House. I think that was really his thought process. And he worked in a lot of drills and exercises that really worked to improve the mechanics. I think his arm looks stronger to me. I think he's educated himself in terms of how to maintain that arm through the course of 16 games. So it's a wise investment for any quarterback. You're always looking for little ways to get better in the offseason.
2nd down and 5. The Newhouse enters an extra blocker, and that's the spinning Hill, who's brought down by Lowry, and they put him at the 42. And he picks up 6. Don't you think Peyton Manning has had an influence, though, on a lot of these quarterbacks? Manning always trying to do something different to better his quarterback.
I think that, you know, it really starts with him. I think every quarterback, and Manning, both Mannings, Eli and Peyton, go down to Duke and spend time with David Cutcliffe, their head coach, who was their position coach in college. And so I think, you know, you look at Drew Brees, you know, these guys are paying their own money to fly out to California to work with a specialist. Just looking at ways that they can improve and make themselves better in the offseason.
Whitworth still out. Newhouse remains. It's 1st and 10. And Hill getting a block from Bodine, who is the rookie center, and he takes it down to the 40-yard line on a gain of 2. Well, as John Madden said, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And even though Dalton has taken the team to the playoffs 3 consecutive years, he felt, you know what, there's always room for improvement.
Well, there is, and I think that, you know, that's what it's going to take. I mean, they've been so good, but yet they've not been able to get over the hump in the postseason.
And win a playoff game, you're right.
I think that's the task at hand for Andy Dalton. I think it's important to him. I think, you know, he's got so many of the intangibles, Kevin, that you love at the quarterback position. He's tough, he's smart, he's durable, he's dependable, he's never missed a start. And so, you know, I like it when quarterbacks, now with the new rules we have in the offseason with the collective bargaining agreement, they can spend, we see less and less of them in the offseason. So they're not allowed, you know, there's restrictions on the amount of time they're allowed to work with the coordinator. So what are these quarterbacks doing? Taking their own hard-earned money, they're going out on their own, and they're working with specialists, and they're taking the receivers with them, and they're trying to find ways to work at their craft. And I think that's important.
There's a lot to process if you're a quarterback, physically, mentally, and any help you can get, obviously, is something that these quarterbacks will invest in. With the prices, the contract so high, 2nd down and 8. This is Bernard, who moves the pile for a little guy all the way down to the 36-yard line and a pickup of 4. Well, the Bengals appear to be going to 2-0, and they'll take that record against Tennessee. And Tennessee had a nice win last week against Kansas City, and then they get the bye.
Yeah, I was really impressed with what I saw from the Titans. That'll be a tough contest. Of course, early bye, never like that, Kevin. But then look what they have after that. They've got to go to New England, Carolina, Indianapolis, all playoff teams from a season ago. 2 of the 3 on the road, and then they jump back in the division against Baltimore. They played Baltimore twice before they play any other team in the division. So they're not really going to get to Cleveland and Pittsburgh until the midpoint in the season.
All coached by Marvin Lewis, the head coach of this ball club. He is the 2nd longest tenured head coach with 1 team behind only Bill Belichick. He's been around here a long time. You mentioned the word continuity. They've got it with the head coach. The coordinators on both sides have been changed here because the other coordinators, Jay Gruden on offense, Zimmer on defense, leaving for head coaching jobs 3rd and 4. And a stop right there. That was made by Mapunga.
Well, normally in this situation, Kevin, you'd probably think field goal, but you look at what Mike Nugent has done today. I'm sure they're probably a little gun shy.
He's missed a couple, and they've been long, too. 1 from 49. He's missed 3, actually. 1 from 49, 1 from 38, and the last one just before the first half came to a conclusion from 55. It is 4th and 4 as the clock continues to tick.
I think I'd run this clock down and take a delay game and punt the football. You're up by 2 scores. Atlanta has no timeouts left, and your defense has played well.
Delay game, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Marvin Lewis, we talked to him, he said, you know, when you lose and then start to win like we did a handful of years ago, you start feeling good about yourself. And then we kind of stepped back a bit. We had to kind of learn how to win, how to maintain that win. He said it was a process here. He says, luckily, I've been able to survive, and here I am now with the team that's made the playoffs 3 consecutive years.
Well, they do a great job, and I think the reason they have made the playoffs, actually 4 of the past 5 years and 3 consecutive years, Kevin, as you point out, they've had success in the draft, and they do an outstanding job identifying and evaluating, and then most importantly, developing the players in their system. When they get them into the building, they get better. They've got great assistant coaching staff here, and as you point out, they've had continuity within the staff, within the program.
Huber to punt. There was a high long snap, and Hester is going to let it bounce. So let's see if they can strand him once again. Yep, they're going to be marooned about the 3-yard line. So that's a 38-yard well-placed punt by Huber, and Atlanta will get the ball back. They're down by 14 and 2:18 to go, and Atlanta with no timeouts. As you take a look at Mike Smith, and he was very revealing yesterday, and the way he was assessing how they went from 13 wins 2 years ago to a Super Bowl team in many people's eyes last year to a 4-12 finish.
Well, I think when you go through a season like that, it really forces you to take a look at yourself and at the organization. And he said last night, he said, we were hit with a disease called complacency, and it really started with him. I think the minute you start taking things for granted in this business, you get punched right in the face. And I think you go 4-12, and it's just what happened to them. Of course, I don't think it was anything intentional, but it certainly has energized him. He has done a terrific job with this football team. They'll be back. Not the way. This is not a good start for them today. They didn't do a good enough job in the run defense, and they were asleep in the first half offensively. They couldn't get anything going. Just 50 passing yards from Matt Ryan.
Julio Jones just picked up 8 on 1st and 10. Here's a 2nd down and 2, and they go into the defensive grasp of Nelson. A big hit right there. And the reception, and the player is still down. I think it's Harry Douglas who caught the ball. We will take an injury timeout. We're at the 2-minute warning. That was Harry Douglas who had to walk off the field. He did get off under his own power, but he is off and on the sideline right now. It is a 1st and 10. Atlanta is out of timeouts and down by 14. Gilberry and Dunlap are on him, and the running back, Devontae Freeman, drops the pass. And a flag with some shoving after the play.
Well, they didn't like the hit that Matt Ryan took. You saw a bunch of Atlanta Falcon offensive linemen go over there to help their buddy, Matt Ryan.
After the play was over, personal foul, offense number 76, late hit. 15-yard penalty.
That's on Lamar Holmes. Right tackle, we've had a long day.
Well, they were responding to, watch Matt Ryan at the end here. You're going to see Carlos Dunlap. He comes in here and he just clips him right on the side of the leg. And watch Holmes respond. I think that's good to see. Remember, they were criticized last year for not doing a good enough job defending their quarterback by their owner.
Yes.
And Mike Tice was brought in to really whip this unit into shape, and I like that. As a quarterback, I appreciate that.
2nd and 25. They need the 39. It's Devontae Freeman. Chased by Gilberry and hit on the play by Hall, who has an interception today. It's a pickup of 3. He's up to the 18. Ryan was picked off twice today. He did throw a touchdown pass to Julio Jones in the 2nd half. He's now at the bottom of your screen, picked up by Adam Jones. 3rd and 21. It's Freeman, and they stop him before the 1st down, which was the 39. So now it is 4th down and a couple. They'll put him at the 36. He picks up on the play 17.
This is a really good Cincinnati defense we've seen today, Kevin. They've got an inside rusher, an outside rusher, some athletic linebackers, and 6 defenders in the secondary that were former first-round picks.
Harry Douglas, who just left the game, is back in, gets a pass of 5 yards. They'll move the chains. It is a 1st down to the 41-yard line. No timeouts for the Falcons. If it's any consolation to Falcon fans, the Saints had for the 2nd straight week a lead that they've given up in the 4th quarter, and they lose to Cleveland. So they, New Orleans, surprisingly 0-2. They've lost 5 consecutive regular season road games. 1st and 10 for Ryan. Well-timed hit, incomplete, as they're going for Anton Smith.
A frustrating day for Matt Ryan. And, he was so confident last night when we sat down and visited with him, and rightfully so. He's coming off of a huge day, 448 passing yards against the Saints, a franchise record. He felt really, really good coming into this one. They got off to a rocky start. Just couldn't get anything going offensively in the first half against this Bengals defense.
It's 2nd and 10 for Ryan. He throws across the middle where it's incomplete, and there's a shove and a Roddy White, Reggie Nelson conversation. As it gets
crazy, isn't it?
Yep.
There's just some frustration there.
Well, here's an Atlanta team that has lost now after today 7 consecutive outdoor games.
Well, you can't do that.
Little Floyd Mayweather look there by Reggie Nelson. Are you a big fight fan, Rich?
Big fight tonight, isn't it?
I thought it was last night.
Last night. There you go. I'm a big fight. Who won?
Mayweather.
I don't know if you know, Kevin. I had a game today, okay? Well, you were watching the fight last night. I was here. I was preparing. I was studying. I was watching tape.
There's a personal foul. It will go against Atlanta.
Well, Roddy didn't like the fact that he went low on him. Then he pushes him in the helmet. And then, of course, Reggie Nelson gets up and
coming up next on CBS, you'll either see Kansas City, Denver, the Jets at Green Bay, or Houston at Oakland. 3rd down and 25. There's a Moore with a good block at the right guard. And they go downfield. And it is caught by Jones, and he was out of bounds. He was on the chalk when he came in. Adam Jones was there defending along with Reggie Nelson. Julio Jones draws a crowd wherever he goes.
They've done a really nice job, this Cincinnati secondary, really trying to take away Julio Jones and Roddy White. They've done it a lot with rotations and some double coverages, some cut coverages, making it difficult for Matt Ryan to get the ball on the perimeter. Good look at Paul Gunther. Did a terrific job. Really an outstanding plan against this Atlanta offense.
They need the 49. It is 4th and 25 for Ryan and the Atlanta offense. Could be the last play for them. Going deep. He throws another pick, and the 2nd today for Iloka. He'll hit the deck at the 30. Ryan has thrown 3 interceptions in a performance that was almost the exact opposite of last week, where his coach said he may have had his best game in his career.
Well, he looked so sharp, and you know, this is just a situation, Ken. He was trying to make something happen, trying to fit one in there down the field, and just throws it over the head of Roddy White. Easy interception again for George Iloka.
Well, Matt Ryan told us yesterday that Paul Gunther and this defense of Cincinnati camouflage their looks very, very well.
Well, they did a nice job. You're right, disguising their intentions. And you know, you look at Paul Gunther, a guy that is a secondary coach, a linebackers coach.
He's done it all, hasn't he?
He really did a nice job today. Nice job by that man as well, Marvin Lewis. Team was clearly ready to play.
2 rushing touchdowns for the Bengals, 1 touchdown throw by Dalton. Final score is in. Cincinnati goes to 2-0 and a 24-10 win. Coming up next, game 2 of our NFL on CBS doubleheader. For Rich Gannon, Kevin Harlan saying so long from Cincinnati. You've been watching the NFL on CBS. Coming up, the NFL Today update will take you to New York for all the scores and highlights.